The girl felt that her existence was similar to the life of a doll displayed in her father's store. The man had been telling Scarlett since childhood that she should obey him while she was young, and after marriage, obey her husband. The father reminded the girl that she had to do this because she was the eldest daughter of the Chandler family. Scarlett was a good child. Her sky-blue eyes showed humility before her father. She had an obedient, calm character and never dreamed of going beyond her capabilities. The baby was easy to raise. The events moved to the day when Scarlett turned 20 years old. On this day, she went to the capital on the orders of her father to get married. The girl was calm. A smile was visible on her face, because soon she would marry the Duke, who had the greatest power after the imperial family. Samuel proposed to her. The girl was a little worried, because she did not know whether the Duke was a good man and what he was like. Scarlett was very nervous thinking about her fiancé, whom she had never seen before. Soon the carriage drove up to a luxurious palace. The girl went inside. The garden was filled with the delicate scent of flowers. Their petals floated in the air with ease, spreading this wonderful aroma everywhere. Scarlett was amazed when she saw the interior of the house. The girl realized that the Duke's house was really different from the others. She obediently followed the butler, looking around the Duke's luxurious apartments. The worker knocked and informed the gentleman that Miss Chandler had arrived. The Duke ordered the girl to be let in. The brunette was standing by the fireplace when his bride entered. Soon the Duke looked back, which made her a little taken aback. Scarlett said that she was very pleased to meet him. The girl introduced herself by bowing to her husband. The brown-haired man said that his name was Samuel Huntington. The Duke assumed that Scarlett had worked hard to get here. The girl shook her head and said that he was wrong. The bride's body was pierced by cold. Scarlett assured that for someone like her, it was an extraordinary honor. The blonde glanced back at the guest and asked who she was. The Baroness's face changed at once. The girl sitting on the sofa asked if the guest was the one her lover had spoken about. The Duke put his arm around the blonde and introduced the girls to each other. Smiling, the blonde said that her name was Joshua, but she could just call her Joy. Laughing, the blonde said that Sam called her that too. Visibly nervous, Scarlett asked her fiancé who this person was. Smiling, the brown-haired man said that Joy was the person he loved. Everything swam before the girl's eyes, because it was destroying her perfect world. Sam informed the bride that she had only 2 duties. The Duke informed her that the bride was not to interfere with his relationship with Joy, and to act like a married couple in public. The guy promised that if Scarlett did these 2 simple things, he would treat her like the mistress of the Huntington house. Sam reminded her that he had given her the title of Duchess and asked her not to say that she couldn't do it. Her father's words echoed in her mind. She reminded herself that this was what she had to do as the eldest daughter of the Chandler family. She realized that she had been chosen by the Duke because of her obedience. The maids carefully combed her sunset-colored hair. The workers were amazed that the Duchess had chosen such a modest dress. The woman noted that nothing symbolized calm and purity as white. The brunette assured that it was not so fashionable now, but still this dress would suit the lady perfectly. The woman noted that Scarlett's red hair looked provocative and asked to make sure that she always dressed like that. Sadness flickered in her sky-blue eyes. The future Duchess said that her wedding would soon take place, and therefore she wanted to go to bed early. Sitting on the soft bed, the girl realized that she could not fall asleep. She stood up hesitantly and decided to walk along the long corridors. Warm candlelight could be seen from the Duke's room. Joy begged her lover not to leave. The Duke remembered that he had to prepare for the wedding. The blonde asked if her lover really needed to marry the Baroness. Scarlett stood by the door, eavesdropping on the conversation, and covered her mouth with her hand in horror. The guy reminded his lover that it was just a formality, and it was very important. The blonde said that she was still angry at Sam for having to spend the next night with his wife. The Duke gently straightened her silky hair, telling her that he loved only her and asked her to calm down. Sam assured him that his bride meant nothing to him and was only an instrument for conception. The guy explained that Scarlett's father sold his daughter when he said he would knight his son. The girl ran away after hearing this. The Baroness, clutching the dagger tightly in her hands, looked at her wedding dress with tears in her eyes. Scarlett tore the luxurious fabric with a light movement of the dagger. Many pearls fell to the floor. She realized that she could no longer live in the embrace of lies. The maids looked in horror at the wedding dress torn to shreds. The Baroness sat quietly, without emotion on her face. Entering the room, Sam asked what had happened. Lowering her head, the brunette said that Madame had gone out early in the morning to drink some water, and when she returned, the dress was already in that condition. The maid asked if it was obvious that Joshua had done it. She reminded him that the blonde had pretended to be the mistress of the house, but when the Duchess appeared, she had not been pleased with the event. The brown-haired man asked Madame Moore to show proof that this was Joshua's doing. The woman asked the gentleman how long he was going to keep this vile girl near him. Moore explained to the young gentleman that he would soon marry and become the head of the family. Sam stated that the blonde was his lover and asked the woman not to continue this conversation. The bride sighed heavily and said that the Duke was right and asked to leave this matter for later. Scarlett explained that if rumors were spread that this had happened on the eve of the wedding, it could bring shame on the Duke. The girl said that she did not want to make a fuss about what happened. The Baroness reminded that in public, she and his lordship should look like a happy couple. A smile appeared on the brown-haired man's face. He noticed that his wife listened to him well. Scarlett insisted that, despite being the daughter of a baron, she learned business standards from her father, who had his own business. The girl said that in exchange for the two things the Duke asked for, she asked to be allowed to do something. The Baroness asked to let her have another man. Biting his lip, the guy asked again if his bride wanted a personal life like his. And he agreed to this condition, but put forward an ultimatum. Sam said that the bride should not become pregnant by another man. The guy asked not to ruin their marriage by talking about his personal life in public. Scarlett looked down and promised to remember this. The Duke asked the girl what she would do with the torn dress. The girl said that when she bought the wedding dress, there was another one that she liked. The Baroness explained that she had taken the dress in the hope of wearing it for a reception. Sam ordered the maids to ensure that the incident did not spread. The guy said that they should be careful so that nothing bad happens on such a happy day. Scarlett's face twisted into a barely noticeable grin. The girl was pretending that the wedding dress was just the shortest way to realize her plan. The Baroness had managed to secure his favor and her freedom. She had no intention of sitting back and allowing herself to be used by people who treated her like a commodity. The girl looked at her reflection in the mirror. The maids were delighted by the beauty of Milady's body. Moore asked if the style was too bold for a new bride, and asked to first detangle her hair. The Baroness asked Nora to draw her eyebrows a little higher, suggesting that this would decorate her face. Scarlett asked that the earrings and necklace be replaced with peridot gemstones, and that her father's tie and her mother's diamond brooch be attached to the bouquet. Nora noticed that Madame looked beautiful. Nodding, the lady called the girl to follow her. The Baroness stood tenderly clinging to her husband's hand. The lady asked Nora why they were preparing for the reception. The girl explained that this was not originally planned, but His Highness Kingsley, a member of the imperial family, came to celebrate the wedding. The maid explained that this was why they had prepared everything in a hurry. Moore explained that Kingsley was an old friend of the Duke, and they could not send him back. The girl was very tired during the preparations for the wedding. Looking at the bride, the Duke said that it was time for them to go. The newlyweds walked down the stairs proudly. Scarlett's luxurious figure was emphasized by a black dress with gold embroidery and a slit up to the thighs. Smiling, the brown-haired man noticed that His Highness had already arrived and asked the guests to greet him. The Duke jerked his bride sharply, causing her to hit the girl. The blonde dropped her wine glass. Sharp shards of glass pierced the Baroness's leg. The girl said she needed to go to her room and clean her wounds. The guy asked the bride with concern if she could walk. Smiling, Scarlett said that there was nothing difficult about it. She walked quickly towards the garden. Despite the fact that her leg was very painful and bleeding, the Baroness lost her balance from the hellish pain and almost fell down the stairs. The brunette grabbed her hand and asked if she was okay. Scarlett glanced at the guy and realized that he looked like a nobleman. She assured him that everything was fine. The brunette said that she could barely walk and had huge problems with her leg. Scarlett turned around and assured him that she could take care of it herself. The handsome stranger knelt down and noticed that there were many fragments sticking out of her leg. The guy explained that she couldn't walk and that it needed to be cleaned up and treated immediately. The brunette apologized and took her in his arms. Scarlett was amazed by the stranger's strength and looked into his deep amethyst eyes. The guy gently sat her down on the bench. Kneeling down, he gently touched her ankle and warned her that it might be unpleasant. Scarlett watched the brunette's actions carefully. The Duchess muttered through her teeth that it hurt a little. The guy carefully treated her wounds with alcohol. Despite the fact that she was given first aid, it was necessary to call a doctor for further treatment. The girl, unable to contain her curiosity, asked who the stranger was and why he carried something like that with him. The brunette explained that knights always carried a first aid kit like that with them. The girl asked again if he was a knight. The Countess noticed that the guy had an unusual face for a knight. The brunette asked where Scarlett's room was and said he would show her the way. The girl, embarrassed, assured her that she could walk on her own. The knight informed her that she should not resist so. The Duchess, looking down, informed him that she did not want another man to accompany her on her wedding day. Bowing her head, the girl thanked him for his help. Scarlett asked if she could find out his name. The guy hesitated a little and introduced himself as Edmund Lewis. Bowing, the Duchess promised to repay his kindness. Sam noticed that His Highness had drunk too much alcohol and reminded him that he was having a wedding and advised him to eat more. Soon the bride entered the hall, asking for forgiveness for keeping the Duke waiting. The brown-haired man met his wife with a fake smile. The guy said that she shouldn't have come down because he was just about to go up. Scarlett was amazed that he was ready to leave the general fund so quickly. Brown-haired explained that he could not wait any longer, and they had to seal the deal. Smiling, Sam informed His Highnesses that he would go upstairs with his wife. The words that she was simply an instrument for conception were still spinning in the Duchess's head. Scarlett explained that she understood that he wanted to consummate the marriage. Brown-haired asked again if she really did not want to do this. The Duke explained that everyone would suspect something was wrong if the couple did not have their wedding night. Sam explained to his wife that they had to be close enough, and reminded her that it was her duty. Hovering over her, the guy asked if it was her first time. The brown-haired man hesitated a little and noted that this was very stupid, and was one of the reasons why village girls irritated him. The Duke said he would get up first, and when she was ready, he could come to the new room. Sam decided to give his wife some time to gather her courage. The girl's silhouette was illuminated by the dim moonlight, emphasizing all her beauty. Scarlett poured herself a glass of wine and drank it in one gulp. The Duchess still couldn't accept that her husband considered her an instrument for conception. She smashed her glass in anger, realizing that she had simply been sold as if she were a mere commodity. The girl stood up and tried to walk, holding onto the walls. Scarlett had no idea that the first wedding night would be so exhausting, terrible, and desperate. She didn't want to realize her value, and tears quickly flowed from her sky-blue eyes. The girl sat on the bed with eyes full of despair. Covering her face with her hands, our heroine suddenly jumped up, throwing only a small white shawl over her sexy nightgown. The Duchess ran up the stairs, trying to forget everything. Soon, Scarlett bumped into the brunette and raised her tear-stained sky-blue eyes to him. A little confused, the knight asked Milady what had happened. She lightly pressed the guy to the door and kissed him passionately. The girl said that she needed a man like him. The Duchess threw off her snow-white shawl without hesitation and asked the guy not to ask anything, but to help her once more. After quickly getting dressed, Scarlett thanked the guy for not asking unnecessary questions. Throwing a snow-white cape on herself, the girl headed towards the exit of the room. The brunette only followed the girl with his eyes without saying anything. Sam extended a finger to the small canary. He was clutching a glass of wine tightly in his hands. The Duke gently stroked the little bird. Hearing the door open, the guy informed the bride that she was late. Scarlett explained that her preparations were complete. The Duchess realized that she would prefer to simply conceive a child from a man, since for her husband, she was just an instrument. Sam, cuddling his pet, explained that he was a little tired, but did not want to go to bed just like that. He roughly grabbed the bird by the neck. Soon, bloody feathers were scattered around the room, and the helpless body collapsed into the cage. Brown-haired supposed that this was enough for the first night. The Duke asked his wife to remain in this room while he returned to his beloved Joshua. The girl realized with relief that nothing had happened that night. She collapsed exhausted onto the blood-stained bed. Scarlett couldn't help but remember that night and thought he was a good man. After all, he hadn't asked her anything. The Duchess realized that she was very lucky that Louis was her first. The brunette looked into the water with admiration, wondering if this was a feature of Floria. The girl was delighted by the transparency of the water. The father asked the little girl to be careful, because she could get wet. The man explained that the water was like that because the imperial family purified the water with magic. The father asked Scarlet if she had fulfilled her duty on her wedding night. The girl assured that everything went well. Her face showed no emotion. The man asked his daughter if she had disturbed the Duke. She assured that she had simply done her duty. The father explained that there was nothing wrong with the capital's aristocrats having a mistress or two. The Baron asked the girl not to irritate Sam with her prejudiced attitude. The girl was taken aback to learn that her father knew about Joshua's existence. Trying to change the subject, the Duchess said that she was amazed by the Chandler's knowledge. She was amazed that he even knew the secret places in the Duke's residence. Smiling, the brown-haired man said that when the Duke was looking for maids, he introduced the guy to those who had previously worked for him. The father explained that he introduced her because the Duke was pleased with his help and asked his permission to marry his daughter. The Baron reported that Sam was a well-mannered guy and there was nothing to worry about. Scarlet's world was slowly breaking into 1,000 tiny pieces. The girl could not believe that her father had sold her out. The Duchess hesitantly asked if she could ask him just one question. Scarlet recalled that since childhood, she never violated his instructions and tried to be the ideal daughter that he wanted to see. With sadness in her sky-blue eyes, the daughter asked if the man loved her. The Baron noticed that she still reasoned like a child. The brunette reminded her that he fed her, gave her a home and raised her, and she should repay this debt to him. Her father explained that he had made her a duchess and that this was something more than she could have achieved on her own. Shaitan was confident that now he would be able to return what he had invested in his daughter. The man promised to contact her soon and asked her to take care of the Duke in the meantime. The brown-haired man stood up rather quickly and got out of the boat, leaving the girl alone. The butler greeted the lady with a bow. The lady asked Lorenzo how many of the Duke's servants had been recommended by the Chandler family. Lorenzo hesitated a little and asked the girl why she asked him something like that. The Duchess explained that they were acting as informants to pass on information to the Chandlers. The girl asked if he knew about this adventure. After a negative response, Scarlet ordered the dismissal of everyone recommended by her father. The lady explained that the personnel management at the Duke's residence was a disaster. Bowing, Lorenzo promised to inform the Duke of this. Left alone, Milady recalled her father's words. The Duchess realized that she no longer wanted to cling to useless hopes. She was furious to learn that she had been used and sold for such trivial reasons. Scarlet never wanted to trust anyone again. The girl decided not to be weak-willed anymore and to change something in her life. The blonde noticed that Ed looked very worried. The gentleman reminded him that he had told him to get closer to Huntington's wife and find out the Duchess's intentions. The blonde man sipped his wine and suggested that his knight was obsessed with the girl. Louis explained that the girl continued to sob and tremble slightly, like a person who would fall in a few moments. The brunette told the gentleman that he knew little. The guy was sure that there were problems between the Duke and the Duchess of Huntington. Louis reported that the Duchess was shocked. The blonde thoughtfully reported that he was interested in this information. A barely noticeable smile appeared on the gentleman's face. The brown-haired man asked his wife why she had fired all of Joshua's maids. The girl explained that her dear father knew about the existence of his mistress. Scarlet explained that she had heard that he needed people who could keep their mouths shut. The wife explained to the Duke that her father had easily found the key to those maids. The Duchess explained to the boy that despite her family ties with the Baron, she was a member of his family. Scarlet assured him that the honor of the Huntington family was above all else for her. Smiling, the brown-haired man said that he was very glad that he got such a wise wife. Sam hoped that the girl would be a good housewife in the future. The Duke told the girl that there would be an imperial ball that evening, and they needed to look like the happiest couple. Smiling, the brown-haired man asked his wife if she could handle the task. Scarlet asked him not to doubt her abilities. Smiling, the aristocrat congratulated the newlyweds once again. The guy was amazed that the Duke managed to get such a beauty. Soon someone called out to the Duke. Sam asked the Archduke if he had sobered up. The blonde asked if he had ever been drunk. The guy said that when he left, he simply emptied another bottle. The Archduke assumed that this was their first meeting with the beautiful lady. Bowing, Scarlet explained that it was a pleasure to meet the gentleman. The blonde said that he had noticed the previous day that she was incredibly beautiful. Sam asked his old friend not to be jealous. The Duke reminded him that his friend himself had said that it was better not to delay the wedding. The brown-haired man asked why he hadn't found a bride yet. The guy kissed his wife tenderly on the forehead. Scarlett couldn't understand why her husband was trying so hard to act like a loving husband in front of this man. The Duchess decided to just play along with him. She pretended to be embarrassed and said that people were looking at them. The blonde noticed that it had become a little hot. The Archduke extended his hand, asking not to be considered rude, and invited Milady to dance. Sam asked if the guy was going to seduce his wife. The blonde said he would tell his fiancée how Sam fell off a ferry as a child and nearly drowned. The guy asked his wife not to listen to his friend. Scarlett felt she had to be extremely careful. The Duchess realized that they had been childhood friends and couldn't figure out why. The banquet hall was filled with light live music. Smiling, the blonde asked Milady if she had ever been to the Floria Canal. The guy explained that this was their main attraction. The Duchess said that her parents had come yesterday and appreciated the local beauty. The blonde said that he had heard that her father had run a nightly order. The guy admitted that he was especially interested in the Baron's opinion. Smiling, the girl said that her father thought that the canal was really amazingly beautiful, and that thanks to the Emperor, that place became magnificent. Scarlett explained that her father said that the old ferry needed repairs. The girl assured that if the ferry was updated, Florecia would become even more beautiful. The blonde asked the Duchess to tell him more about it and explain how it could be restored. Someone announced the arrival of His Highness the Emperor. The aristocrats bowed their heads politely, surprised that he had decided to honor them with his presence. Someone from the crowd said that he had to miss the ball due to illness. The guests assumed that he personally decided to greet Archduke Kingsley, who had arrived in the capital. The guy, moving away from Scarlett, said that he wanted to continue the conversation later. Bowing, the blonde told Milady that if she had such a desire, she could tell his escort. The Archduke pointed his finger at the brunette. The girl's face quickly turned pale, because she recognized the guard as the guy she had spent the night with. Smiling, the blonde said that he would wait for this moment. Turning around, Scarlett decided to go out onto the balcony. She realized that she could not hesitate. The girl understood that she should no longer care about what happened between her and Louis. The Duchess tried to cast aside unnecessary feelings. She tried to focus on the relationship between her husband and the Archduke. The girl realized that Sam was clearly hiding something from the guy. Despite the fact that Scarlett had won her husband's trust, she could not allow him to make her his puppet. The Duchess planned to find out her husband's weak points and turn them to her advantage. The girl realized that, as the legitimate heir to the throne, Kingsley had enormous influence, and the current emperor was too weak to rein in his son. She realized that soon the blonde would become the next ruler, and if she destroyed their connection with the Duke, Scarlett hoped that she would be able to gain independence. Noticing the brunette, who also came out onto the balcony, the Duchess asked what was going on. She tried her best to remain calm. The brunette said he thought she was feeling unwell. Louis explained that, although it was impolite, he had followed her. The girl continued to control herself and be strong. The Duchess thanked the knight for treating her wound on her wedding day. She promised to thank his family on behalf of the Huntington family. Louis assured her that there was no need for that. Scarlett assumed he was worried she might get hurt again, and that was why he came. She was amazed at his generosity. Having adjusted her luxurious hair, the Duchess reported that, thanks to him, she had had a wonderful time. The girl asked whether it was true that in the capital, a girl and a guy could retire immediately after meeting. She explained that no man can resist a woman's tears. Coming out of the balcony, Scarlett said that such a man did not interest her. She asked the brunette to pass something on to her master. The girl said that she wanted to meet the Archduke in a quiet place without her husband. The knight Pomraknev said that he would let her know when he was free. The sun was rising over the horizon, painting the endless expanses of the forest in a golden color. The carriage was slowly moving along the road. The measured clatter of horse hooves was heard. Looking at the bride, the Duke asked what she was talking about with Kingsley. The girl assured him that there was nothing special in their conversation. Scarlett explained that she had talked to him about going to the canal with her father. The brown-haired man asked his wife if she had talked to the guy about anything unnecessary. The Duchess assumed that Sam was talking about Joshua. She said that she hadn't blabbed. The guy said that she should be more careful in front of other people, but she had to be doubly vigilant in front of the Duke. A little taken aback, Scarlett explained to her husband that she had heard that they were best friends. The girl asked why he couldn't tell him about the existence of his mistress. Sam asked his wife not to try to understand all the details and just do what was in her competence. Bowing her head, the Duchess asked for forgiveness. The girl guessed that her husband did not want to reveal Joshua's existence to his friend. She realized that Sam had decided to marry the poor baron's daughter to divert attention. Scarlett realized that if she found out the reason, she would be able to get a weak spot in her sleeve that could break her husband. The maid helped the lady out of the carriage. Entering the estate, the Duke asked what the reason for the fuss was. With tears in her eyes, Joshua begged her lover to say at least something to the servants. The blonde threw herself into the Duke's arms a few moments later. Moore explained that the impudent girl had tried to stage a strike by saying she wanted to meet her mistress. The Duchess assumed that they were talking about her. Sobbing into the brown-haired man's shoulder, Joshua said that she was incredibly happy that Scarlett had come. The girl assumed that her rival had kicked out all her maids because she was jealous. The blonde assumed that she had decided to make fun of her. The head maid reported that they were fired after reporting that they were spies for high-ranking officials. The mistress reported that Scarlett had put her maids in charge because she didn't like that she was taking all of Sam for herself. Crying on her lover's shoulder, the blonde told him that she was very offended. Joshua reminded that it was not she who ruined the wedding dress. The girl assured that her rival made it all up and set her up. Casting a contemptuous glance at his beloved, the brown-haired man reminded her that he had told her not to go out without his permission. The Duke asked if she remembered what would happen if she broke the rules. With a trembling voice, the blonde realized that she would be punished. Sam informed her that she was forbidden to enter his room for 3 days. The guy ordered Madame Moore to take the girl back. The woman obediently carried out the master's order. Scarlett noticed that Hillington's attitude towards Joshua was very strange for a lover. The Duke sighed heavily and asked his wife for forgiveness for having to see this. Sam informed the girl that she had done an excellent job at the banquet. The guy grinned and said that she was much smarter than he expected. The Duchess, embarrassed, said that he was exaggerating. Shaitan promised his wife to transfer to her all the rights and duties of the mistress of the duchy that Madame Moore performed. The guy asked to try to look after his mistress so that there would be no bedlam in this estate. Putting her hand on her heart, Scarlett promised to do everything in her power. Sitting at the table, the girl asked again whether the mistress of the estate had been involved in this. Madame Moore said that the gentleman had been dragging on with the wedding for a long time, and that was why she was responsible for this. The woman was delighted that the gentleman had come to his senses and found himself such a beautiful wife. Moore explained that all the time a low-born man had been encroaching on her place. The girl asked again if Joshua was of low birth. Moore said that she was the daughter of a peasant from the village, and even the name of her father was unknown. The woman explained that the blonde had lost her mother at the age of 6 and had become an orphan. She explained that the gentleman could not turn away and brought her to the estate. The lady reported that at some point the blonde began to wag her tail in front of the gentleman and only recently reached his bed. The Duchess asked whether the girl could leave the estate without the Duke's permission. Moore reported that she did not leave the building because if a low-born girl were to wander around and boast about her relationship with the gentleman, the name of the ducal family would be tarnished. Scarlett asked since when the mistress lived locked up. The woman explained that when the baby came to the estate, she was too weak to leave, and when she grew up, the master forbade it. The Duchess asked how old the blonde was. The woman explained that she was also 20 years old, but unlike her mistress, she was not very bright. Scarlett suspected something was wrong because she was an orphan whom he had brought many years ago. The girl realized that even if it happened out of pity then, at that moment he treated her like a toy. The Duchess realized that for her husband's mistress, this house was like a giant cage. The girl guessed that her husband was trying to hide in a fictitious marriage. Scarlett guessed that, most likely, he didn't want Kingsley to find out about her, despite the fact that he was a close friend and a member of the imperial family. "Get up from your chair," the hostess said that she wanted to meet Joshua. The girl sat in an empty room between many soft toys. Holding 2 dolls in her hands, she imagined that it was she next to her lover. Tears slowly flowed from the blonde's eyes. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Joshua asked if Sam had come to console her. Noticing the lady, the blonde asked if she had come to make fun of her. The girl reminded the Duchess that she had kicked out all her servants. Joshua was reminded by his rival that she had told Sam all sorts of lies and had put her in a bad light. The blonde angrily threw dolls at the guest. The girl burst into tears and said that she didn't care, because she was the Duke's favorite. She assured that even if the lady became pregnant, it didn't matter. Scarlett was a little taken aback when she realized that her opponent was this frightened child who was in Sam's hands, like a toy. The Duchess asked this girl if she wanted to go outside the building. Joy asked again what she was talking about. The night guest explained that her husband gave her the authority to manage the estate of the duchy, including the blonde. Scarlett said that if she used her powers, she would help get out without Sam finding out about it. The girl realized that the blonde could be useful to her someday. The Duchess hoped that Joy would be able to understand that she was deceived under the pretext of love. The blonde assumed that she wanted to get her into trouble again. The girl was sure that when she went outside, her rival would tell Sam everything, and he would scold her. Joshua assured that she would not break her lover's rules because she was a good girl. She turned away and pretended not to notice Scarlett's presence. The girl realized that her husband's mistress was very similar to her in childhood. The Duchess believed that if she was nice, did not get on her nerves, and behaved perfectly, she would receive love in return. Scarlett asked the blonde if she considered her an enemy. The girl reminded her that, as she had said, she was simply a tool. Heading towards the exit, the Duchess asked the girl to think carefully about who she should consider her enemy. The brunette was discussing with her friend that the Duke of Huntington had fallen head over heels in love with his wife. The girl said that there was nothing surprising about it. Newlyweds were everywhere. Scarlett realized that from that day on, her husband showed no interest in her. The girl reassured herself that this was natural, since she was his fictitious wife. She was grateful to Sam that he did not pay attention to her. The Duchess understood that there was no need to reveal it. Smiling, Scarlett explained that she was grateful for the opportunity to serve a good man as his wife. The blonde was amazed that she had met such an innocent girl like her. The girl said that she couldn't even imagine that Samuel could fall in love with such a short person. The brunette noted that Scarlett was not at all like the girls before. The girl explained that the Duke was the guy who charmed many women. The brunette was sure that such a man knew exactly how to entertain his wife. The girl assumed that men who had time to have fun were pretty good in bed. Scarlett realized that if she had heard such a conversation in the past, she would have been very upset and would not have known what to do. The girl was grateful to the teachers that the Duke sent before the wedding. They taught the future Duchess how to behave in high society. Smiling, Scarlett said that the Duke was the one who was faithful to her day and night. Merlin said that she wanted to know more about it. The brunette asked if the Duke had satisfied his wife last night. Smiling, the girl asked not to misunderstand her. Merlin explained that she could introduce the Duchess to several men who could be used as lovers. The brunette told Tanquil that the Duchess was completely confused. Laughing, the blonde suggested that the Duchess was not yet accustomed to the customs of the capital. The girl explained that in the capital, it is not bad to tell that a married woman has 2 or 3 lovers. The brunette explained that the men behaved in such a way that it made no sense for a woman to tolerate it. The girl explained that Lady Tanquil, who was present at this tea party, was the Emperor's mistress. The brunette explained that His Highness was famous for his insatiability in his youth, but he stopped looking at other ladies after meeting Marilyn. The Duchess realized why her husband did not pay much attention to her personal life. The brunette explained that such a great man as the Emperor has the same popularity as a charming young man. Merlin gave the example of George Kingsley, who had come to the capital this time. The girls began to discuss the Archduke, who had managed to mature with affection. The brunette asked Scarlett what kind of men she preferred. The girls began to talk about their preferences. The Duchess assured that a man who would look like her husband would be the ideal type. The brunette reported that the newlyweds could be like that. The tired girl asked her friends to leave the newly minted Duchess alone. The brunette said that Sir Boken would soon be getting married. The girl supported Merlin by saying that Madame Amaryllis was looking for a special idea for her son's wedding. After tea, the Duchess lay down tiredly in a hot bath with rose petals. The girl felt incredibly tired. Scarlett realized that her husband was having fun with many women besides Joshua. She realized that because the blonde was cut off from the outside world, she could not know anything about it. The Duchess was not surprised when she realized that her husband did not love his mistress one bit. Scarlett assumed that the Duke wanted a toy that he could easily keep for himself. The girl assumed that such a rich sex life was also a distraction from Joshua. The maids quickly helped the mistress put on a warm robe. The brunette told the mistress something, and a letter arrived. Scarlet didn't know what event she was invited to. It seemed to the girls that she would have to split herself in two to get everything done. The Duchess opened the letter from Louis with interest. The brunette informed her that he had reserved a box just for the two of them. The girl realized that this was an invitation to watch an opera together in a private box. I realized that this was like a date. Scarlet remembered the words of the ladies of high society. I realized that I was also a lady of the capital. The Duchess realized that I was not going to say then that she would have two lovers. Smiling, the lady asked the worker to bring her a dress and jewelry. Scarlet applied a few drops of aromatic perfume to her neck. She wasn't really interested in lovers or love, but she was interested in what she could get from using a guy. Scarlet stepped out of the carriage in a luxurious red dress. On her chest and hat were luxurious black butterflies that emphasized her luxurious fiery hair color. The butler bowed and greeted the lady, saying that he had been warned in advance. Opening the door slightly, the man asked her to follow him. The worker told the gentleman that he had brought a girl. The Archduke smiled and asked to let her in. Smiling, the blonde noted that Madame was even more beautiful than usual that day, trying not to pay attention to the knight. The girl said that she was glad to meet him again. A beautiful girl in a dragon costume promised that she would avenge her child with their blood. The actress told the knights to prepare for war and sharpen their swords in honor of the bloody feast and the anticipation of the end of the world. Scarlet watched the scene without much interest. The blonde said that he fell in love with her red on the pedigree ruby eyes. The dragon wondered why the man found a place in her heart. The girl said that she could not refuse this temptation despite the humiliation, that her heart was filled with happiness. At the end of the performance, the actors kissed passionately. Smiling, George asked the girl if she liked to talk about love. The Duchess answered negatively, saying that a very beautiful story had been played out on stage. The blonde explained that the story was about the red dragon who gave magic to the first emperor. The Archduke asked his companion if she thought the performance was great. The girl asked what he was talking about. The blonde explained that the dragoness had come to avenge her child on people. George pointed out that this meant that this beautiful dragon had already made love to another male. The Duke explained that the female dragon was already in love with another man. Smiling, Scarlet assumed that she liked the golden eyes and hair like the Archduke. Smiling, the guy noted that the red dragon's hair would be as beautiful as Madame's. The blonde gently adjusted her fiery red silky hair. The Archduke asked Edmund to wait. Bowing, the knight headed for the exit. After the door slammed shut, the blonde informed Scarlet that now they were alone. George reminded that the girl wanted to meet in a private place somewhere with her husband. Smiling, the Duchess explained that she was curious about what her husband's close friend was like. The blonde man lowered his eyes and said that he thought he could trust him all his life until he met her. Scarlet realized that the guy was speaking in the past tense. The guy kissed his companion passionately. The Duchess realized that the guys had quite an interesting relationship. The girl was shocked that one pretended to be on good terms with his wife in front of the other, while the other seduced the wife of his former friend. Scarlet decided to go with the flow at first. She wanted to find out the reason for the betrayal of a friend to whom he could trust even his life. The Duchess assumed that the blonde fell in love with her at first sight. The girl realized that he did not look like he was crazy with love. George asked Milady if she was so disgusted by his kisses that she thought about someone else. The girl explained that she remembered a story about a boat that the Archduke wanted to tell her. Smiling, he explained that an old boat used to sail along the canal. Scarlet reminded him that he wanted to hear how she could be improved. The Duke was a little surprised when he realized that the girl wanted to talk about business in such a beautiful place. The blonde grinned and said that you really did look like a merchant's daughter. The girl, realizing her mistake, said that this was the right place to talk about business and suggested setting up another meeting. Leaning over her ear, the blonde promised to find a quieter place next time so they could focus on kissing. Louis asked the gentleman if they had enjoyed the performance. The knight asked Milady if he should accompany her. Gently touching the blonde's chest, the Duchess said that she would wait for news from him. Smiling, the Archduke asked to call him by his name next time. The girl asked him to call her simply Scarlet. Turning around, she quickly walked away and disappeared around one of the many turns. The boy said that he thought the Duchess was an innocent who had come from a poor village only because she was obedient. George was amazed that he was wrong. The Archduke was quite interested in her personality. When Scarlett entered the house, the maids bowed and took her cape and hat. Madame Moore informed Milady that Sam was already waiting for her and asked her to follow her. The girl walked hesitantly into her husband's room. The brown-haired man peered attentively into the night gloom. The Duchess reported that she had heard that he was looking for her. Looking back at his wife, Sam asked who she was spending time with. Scarlett explained that they had just watched the opera with the ladies, and it was already so late. Shayton asked again about the opera. The wife explained to the guy that this entertainment is very popular in the capital. The Duke assumed that she had played her role well in front of the ladies. Putting a glass of wine on the table, Sam informed her that he had called her to perform his marital duty. Goosebumps ran through the girl's body as she realized that the guy was talking about making love. The Duke asked whether she had a regular menstruation. The girl confirmed his words with a voice trembling with excitement. Scarlett remembered the phrase she heard on the first night after the wedding. The guy said that he heard from the Baron that she had no experience of conceiving and weaning a child from the breast, and he decided to ask again if she had children. The Duchess said he was right. The brown-haired man decided to send her to the doctor the next day to check her health. The guy explained that she looked healthy from the outside, but it was better to be on the safe side. Sam poured some more wine into his glass and said that she could leave. After permission, she ran out of the room rather quickly. Having placed the instrument on a special tray, the man asked whether she had been eating less lately. The doctor suggested that she lacked nutrients in her body. Scarlett lowered her eyes and said that she felt unwell. The brown-haired man said that if she wanted to give birth to a healthy child, she should have enough nutrients. The health worker advised her to eat well. Bowing her head, the Duchess promised to try. The man said that he would first prescribe her some herbs to supplement her diet. The brown-haired man assured her that they had a good effect if she took them as tea. The doctor said that she should abstain from sex for a while and asked her to convey this to the Duke. Getting up from the sofa, the doctor asked her to rest well and promised to give her herbs through the maids. Soon the man got up from the sofa, collected his tools in a suitcase, and left the room. The girl realized that she was now safe. The Duchess remembered that she had eaten little because of stress and was glad that it had led to such an effect. She decided to continue fasting and thus buy herself enough time. Scarlett realized that yesterday she had made an excellent decision by starting a relationship with the Archduke. She hoped to get out of this marriage by any means before she became pregnant with Sam's child. The Duchess planned to find out the guy's weakness and threaten him to achieve a divorce. The girl was afraid that her husband and father would not leave her alone, even in such a situation. Scarlett planned to make a foundation so that she could live peacefully alone, because if she got divorced without doing this, she would eventually return to the same thing. The girl wondered how she could get her own money. Smiling, the woman thanked the lady for visiting the charity shop on the outskirts of Mead. The blonde said that all the proceeds from this store go to help orphans. In one of the windows, the Duchess noticed a luxurious set with aquamarine. When the girl reached for the small box, she bumped into another contender for this thing. Smiling, the brunette asked if Lady Huntington liked this set. Scarlett said that she was ready to give up the decoration to Lady Westmeath. The brunette smiled and assured that the Duchess should not do this, because the decoration would suit her more than her. The girl assured that the earrings with aquamarine simply caught her eye, and she had no intention of buying them. Smiling, Lady Westmeath assured her that in that case she would buy them as a gift in honor of her wedding with the Duke. Scarlett said that she would accept with gratitude only her good intentions. The brunette said that the Duchess should not refuse because she really thought that the jewelry would suit her very well. The girl, covering her face with a fan, assured that the Duchess gave the earrings to Milady with good intentions and asked not to refuse. The Duchess explained that she thought everyone in the capital had common sense and suggested that she was wrong. The girl explained that if she had been in her right mind, she would not have chosen aquamarine as a wedding gift. Scarlett reported that aquamarine was given with the wish for a smooth voyage, and it protects sailors from storms. The Duchess said that wind is needed for good sailing, and that is why it is not given as a wedding gift. The girl assumed that she was sure that a girl from the provinces would not have such deep knowledge. Scarlett assumed that the aristocrat herself did not know about it. Trying to calm the clutter, Marilyn clapped her hands. The brunette told Lady Westmeath that she had simply forgotten herself. Lowering her head, the girl said that, of course, she had simply forgotten herself. The emperor's mistress was sure that the Duchess had reminded her and that she would never forget it. Marilyn said that she wanted to take the earrings for herself. The brunette called out to the beauty and said that he would buy them for her. Having fixed her luxurious raven-colored hair, the girl thanked Sir Lanster. Marilyn said that she loved the wind. The brunette asked not to listen to the envious women because they were indignant that she took such a popular duke for herself. The Duchess would gladly give her the boy to live with in the same house. Marilyn asked if they had heard the news. The girl grinned and said that the merchant Dismant had hired a new shipbuilder. She assumed that they were going to rebuild the boats for the canal. The brunette said that the shipbuilder came from Pandela. Marilyn explained that the state is surrounded by sea on all sides, so this business is very developed there. The Duchess asked what shape the boats would be. The girl assured that it would be great if the boats had a canopy. The brunette said that it would be great to go on a secret date on a canal boat. Merlin explained that the merchant was looking for investors, since building boats was not a cheap hobby. A few delicate pink petals were flying over the water and slowly falling onto it. Scarlet stood on the bridge, looking into the azure water. The girl saw many wooden boats with luxurious lining. The Duchess realized that if the business was successful, there would be no problems with money. Distracted from her thoughts, someone called out to her from behind. Turning around, Scarlet saw a brunette and was a little taken aback by such an unexpected meeting. The guy said that he was going to send her a letter, but they happened to meet at this place. The Duchess was a little taken aback why he decided to write her a letter. She assumed the guy wanted to talk about that night. Scarlet said they weren't in that kind of relationship and asked why he was sending the letter. The brunette sighed heavily and explained that this was a letter from the Archduke. Embarrassed, the girl asked him to give her the letter. The knight asked if she had come to the bridge to admire the shipping channel. Lewis reported that after sunset, the wind in that area became very cold. The guy noted that she could freeze in such clothes. Looking into the water, Scarlet said that she could take care of herself and asked not to worry. The knight grinned and asked if he was forbidden to worry. The girl asked why he should worry about her. The Duchess assumed that he was very intrusive with the girl he spent the night with. Scarlet reminded Lewis that she had met his master. The girl explained that it would be unwise for him to have feelings for her. The brunette asked the Duchess why she was crying. The guy noticed that she hadn't shed a single tear in front of the Archduke. Lewis asked why she cried non-stop that night, as if she had been hugged for the first time. Scarlet looked away and assumed that he liked unkempt and naive girls. The knight was sure that the girl really had no experience, just like him. The brunette explained that, unlike the gentleman, he had not met many women. Lewis reported that he could easily distinguish real innocence from feigned. The girl asked the knight what he meant by this. Lewis said that she had no right to make a mistake, because if she was sincere with the Archduke, he would easily get closer to her. The knight handed Scarlet a letter. Snatching the paper, the girl said that he could not worry about her and assured that she did not bow at all. Lewis wished her a good journey and quickly left, lost in the endless streets. She watched the guy leave and then opened the letter. George said that he would send her a card on Saturday at 8 o'clock. Scarlet realized that the guy was approaching her with indecent intentions. The girl realized that she needed him because of the power he had. The Duchess realized that she could not get privileges for free and had to give him something in return. Scarlet planned to prepare before meeting the blonde again. The man greeted Ms. Huntington. The brunette stated his name. He explained that he was the head of the upper-class Desmond and thanked her for the visit. Scarlet said that she was pleased to meet Sir Puccini. The girl said that she heard that he came from Pendel, but spoke their language perfectly. Smiling, the man explained that knowledge of languages was the most important thing in the field of trade. The foreigner asked if she was interested in their project. Puccini asked if she was going to become their investor. The Duchess explained that she was going to decide after seeing the design. The man said that he had not yet been confirmed, and in order to create a design for them, it was necessary to prepare capital. She asked if she thought that having a ready-made plan of the drawing would make it much easier to find investors. A little confused, the man said that they were still at the stage of developing ideas. Scarlet said that she would like to propose an idea to him. A little confused, the foreigner asked again. The girl asked if he was ready to listen to her. Having looked at the drawings, the man assured that if successful, this project would be a success. Puccini explained that to start work, they needed startup capital and permission from the owner of the canal, Princess Amaryllis. With burning eyes, the brunette asked if she could invest in this project. Scarlett realized that if Samuel's assets were used, there was a high risk that he would take all the income from this business for himself. The Duchess was eager for this business to belong to her. Smiling, the girl said that if he started the project, she would find investors herself. Scarlett asked how long it would take for the drawings and plan. The man thoughtfully said that he could start tomorrow. The foreigner asked what they should do with the princess's permission. Smiling, Scarlett asked the man to grant it to her and said that she had an idea. Joy turned away from her lover, saying that he didn't even support her or visit her. The Duke asked his mistress what she was talking about. The guy reminded the blonde that he came to her with flowers and asked if she would accept this gift. Gently touching the petals, Joy asked where he got them. Sam explained that such beautiful flowers grew around the canal and assured that he had picked several, thinking of her. Looking at the velvety petals of the bouquet, the blonde asked whether flowers grew there and admired their beauty. With sadness in her amber eyes, the mistress told the Duke that she also wanted to go to the canal and look at the flowers. The guy sternly reminded her that he had already told her that it was dangerous to go outside. The Duke asked if she knew how many dangerous people lived there. Gently kissing her on the forehead, the brown-haired man asked what he should do if his dear treasure was harmed. Joy remembered the girl's words and thought about going outside. The foreigner promised the Duchess that he would contact her as soon as possible. The man shook Scarlett's hand. Smiling, the girl said that she would like this project to be successful and hoped for it. Puccini said that her smile reminded him of someone he knew. The foreigner asked her what her maiden name was. After he heard the answer, he explained that she was very similar to his old friend. The girl asked if his friend was from Pandal. Puccini explained that he had left this world, to his great regret. The Duchess, looking down, asked to accept her condolences. The brunette was sure that his old friend would bless this project. The man was sure that they would succeed. Scarlett asked if his merchant sense had told him that. The foreigner grinned and said that he had never made a mistake. Heading towards the exit, the girl said that she would eagerly await news from him. The brunette realized that if he was not mistaken, the prophecy would come true. Having lifted her daughter in her arms, the woman assured that this child would rule the Thebes canals. The girl walked around the city with a small suitcase and looked at various signs. Soon, Scarlett noticed a carriage in which a brunette was sitting. Soon, Louis jumped down from the cart and opened the door for the lady, extending a helping hand. Looking at the knight, the Duchess realized that if she did not accept help, it would look strange. After she entered this carriage, she received a compliment from the Archduke. Smiling, the girl said that she was glad to meet him again. Smiling, the gentleman ordered them to set off. The black horses set off at a fast pace, pulling a luxurious silver carriage behind them. Uncovering her face, the girl thanked him for contacting her. George told the Duchess that he had a gift for her. The blonde took out a small box. She looked at the aquamarine jewelry set with admiration. The boy said that he wanted to give them as a wedding present. The Archduke reminded that Lady Westmeath had teased her about the aquamarine, but instead had humiliated herself. George reported that the brunette despised the girl, considering her a country bumpkin, and paid for it herself. The blonde noted that Milady looked great. Scarlett was amazed that such petty rumors reached the Archduke. The guy reminded her that he asked to call him by his first name. He couldn't understand why, despite the fact that they were dating, she was so cold to him. George asked her to wear the necklace every time she saw him in secret from Samuel. Having hit him on the arm, the girl asked if he wanted her to wear this cheap thing every time she saw him. Scarlett noted that the craftsman had tried hard on the decoration, but the quality of the gemstone left much to be desired. The girl explained that such a design would only suit prostitutes. The Duchess said that she did not think that he was a miser who gave such gifts. Laughing, the blonde assumed that he had screwed up badly. He easily threw the jewelry out the window. George realized that he had done something wrong and asked for forgiveness. The Archduke asked if she would like to go with him to a jewelry store as an apology and promised to choose a gift of the highest quality for her. Scarlett lowered her head and said that she had no such desire. The guy assumed that he had upset her greatly and asked how he could cheer her up. He gently touched her cheek and suggested that he could lighten the mood with a hot kiss. Scarlett pushed him away slightly, refusing. The girl explained that instead of jewelry, she would like to receive something else. Smiling, the blonde asked if what she wanted was more than jewelry. Surprised, the guy asked what the little thing she wanted was. Scarlett explained that she did not want the jewelry as a gift, but that she had enough money and influence to be able to buy it herself. The Archduke assumed that Samuel had not given her money for expenses. The Duchess reported that her husband had transferred privileges to her. The girl explained that she wanted to run her own business, unrelated to her husband's property. The blonde asked again in surprise. Scarlett explained that the power given to her by her husband could easily be taken away, but the money and influence she earned on her own would not go anywhere. The blonde explained that he had heard that she had a good relationship with her husband. George assumed that she was afraid that the Duke's love for her would cool. The girl calmly said that his love may be strong, but a man's love can change at any moment. She explained that the money in her hands will never change. The Duchess explained that instead of a man buying her jewelry, she would prefer to have money with which she could buy it herself. Jo smiled and wanted to listen. George asked Milady what her business plan was. After Puccini with her, the girl met with the shipbuilder. The Duchess discussed and talked with them a little. She realized that all she had to do was convince the blonde. Opening a small suitcase, Scarlett explained that the name of the boat was gondola. The girl said that from the ancient language it was translated as to sway. The Duchess showed a small model and said that including the boatman, it could accommodate up to 6 people. The businesswoman explained that this is why the boy's boat will be controlled by a long oar, unlike the existing boats. Taking her design in his hands, the guy noticed that this was a boat with a new shape, and he had never seen this design before. The Duchess explained that the gondola had a fairly low bottom, but its sides were quite high. The girl explained that because of this, the likelihood of water getting inside and wetting clothes was extremely small. The Duchess explained that its sleek shape made it more passable in the Florida Canal, where it was often necessary to navigate through narrow passages. Looking thoughtfully at his beloved, the blonde said that each boat has its own structure. Scarlett explained that at the moment, most of the passengers on the canal boats were members of the nobility or tourists who had a lot of money. Taking the model in her hands, the Duchess said that they had made several designs that would suit the passengers' features. The girl was sure that the local aristocrats would like the 2 gondola options. Scarlett leaned over to the guy and said that he was from Florida. Laughing, the Archduke said that he could already hear the men and women of the capital hurrying to the canal. The girl explained that she was going to assign a price to each boat. She explained that the gondola on which one could go on a secret date would be the most expensive. George noted that the capital's aristocracy, like tourists, would soon lose interest after riding a few times out of curiosity. The businesswoman said that because of this, she had already come up with entertainment. She explained that after seeing the opera last time, she became interested. The girl shared her knowledge that as opera became popular in the capital, many people wanted to become vocalists and go to music school. Scarlett said that among the vocalists, there are many young people who suffer from life's hardships because they could not find a job. The Duchess suggested that her companion imagine a young rower singing a beautiful song, and the passengers enjoyed the views of the canal. The businesswoman suggested changing the boatman's song every season, and those who use the gondola will return to hear the new song. The girl was sure that if a person becomes popular with the help of a boat, then she will be able to get a place in the theater. She was sure that the vocalists themselves will come to become gondoliers. Scarlett said that they would hold auditions and select capable singers. The Archduke glanced at her and said that this was a good plan. The guy explained that he wasn't just saying that to make her feel good about it, but that he honestly thought it was a good plan. George asked if all the active boats would be removed. The Duchess informed that you will be used at night and at dawn for people who want to get from one place to another. The girl assured that in return, the price will be lower, and therefore the dissatisfaction of passengers will be less. The blonde thoughtfully said that it sounded like a good deal. George noted that it would also be suitable for the Florida canals as a typical tourist spot. The Duchess said that the channel showing the greatness of the imperial family will forever remain in the memory of tourists. The girl said that Princess Amaryllis also approved of this project. The Archduke laughed and noted that his beloved spoke as if she were a business snake. The guy said that the channel belonged to Amaryllis' sister. George noted that it sounded more convincing when she said it herself, rather than him. The blonde promised to arrange a place for her in the near future. Scarlett grinned and said she needed something else. The guy assumed she was talking about money and assumed she would need a large startup capital. The Duchess asked if he was willing to invest in this project. Turning away, the girl said that if he was not interested, she would find another investor. She explained that Puccini had said that it would not be difficult to find an investor for this project. The blonde assured that few people would be able to invest such a large sum as he did. Smiling, Scarlett explained that this was why she came to him in the first place. Lost in thought, the blonde asked what she was willing to offer him in return. The Duchess assured him that a certain portion of the business's income would go to him. The girl said that she had something she could give him besides money. She explained that she was going to break the deal with her father and do all the transactions through the merchant Desmant. The girl explained that the merchant transported through the port of Kingsley and accordingly paid a certain amount of tax to the Archduke. The Duchess reminded that the scale of the capital is quite small due to competition. She assured that soon he would be able to dominate the capital thanks to this business. Scarlett assured that if they succeeded in doing so, the scale of import and export would increase, and the tax would increase significantly. The guy said that he had enough money and he wanted to get something else. Kissing her tenderly, George announced that he wanted to monopolize her heart. The girl reminded that she came to show a business plan and receive investments, and not to sell her body. The blonde explained that he wanted to become the most desired and beloved person for her, even in comparison with Samuel. The girl wondered if he was speaking sincerely. Scarlett realized that the Archduke did not seem like a man who would suffer losses for love. The Duchess wondered what would happen if she changed her mind after receiving the money. George asked me if he was so unattractive that she would cool off right away. The girl explained that she had studied business ethics and was not going to sell things that could be easily changed. The Archduke suggested that he would have to work hard to win her over. Scarlett explained that if he was not going to invest, then she would go. The blonde was shocked by how cold her heart was. The guy sighed heavily, realizing that they would have to start a relationship as business partners. George explained that before deciding on an investment amount, he wanted to give her. The blonde explained that his pride would be too hurt if he didn't give her the jewelry she deserved. The boy ordered Edmund to go to Rosella. The Archduke explained that one could not enter this jewelry store without an invitation. The guy said that even in the capital, few people are able to get into this place. George explained that having money did not mean that she could buy any jewelry there. The blonde reminded that social status, unlike money, will help you acquire anything. The guy assured her that as an apology for his recent mistake, he would buy her everything she wanted. The Duchess noticed a gold ring with a flower-shaped frame. This piece of jewelry reminded her of the carefree years of her childhood. The blonde asked the girl if she liked it. Scarlett realized that her companion intended to bring her to this place before deciding how much to invest. The girl realized that he was trying to test her insight in order to decide what would be a suitable amount for investment. The Duchess began to choose more carefully and thought about what could increase its value. Looking at the diamond necklace, Scarlett said that she liked it very much. Bowing, the worker assumed that she recognized this decoration and noted that her eye was trained. The man explained that during the heyday of the empire, the necklace was worn by Empress Andrea herself. The worker explained that it was handmade and included the best gemstones in the store. The blonde, embarrassed, told the girl that it was too expensive to be a gift to some business partner. Turning to him, the Duchess asked what he thought would be suitable as a gift. Scarlett reminded that she was even ready to break ties with her family in order to offer him a profitable project. The girl said that if he continued to treat her like a cheap trader, she would not do business with the Desmant Trading Group. The Duchess explained that his trading group would grow and drive the competitor out of the capital. Scarlett reminded the Archduke that they would have to return to the estate next year. She explained that he would no longer have the opportunity to increase his influence in the capital. George laughed and suggested that he had been disappointing her all day. The blonde waved his hand and assured that he didn't mean that. The guy said that he was ready to buy the necklace and asked to send the check to his residence. The worker bowed and handed over the jewel. The guy said that he was very sorry to give such a luxurious gift to a business partner, but for his beloved, it was just right. The blonde grinned and hoped that she would forgive all his mistakes. The guy hoped that having received such a valuable gift, her mood would improve. George hoped that he would have a chance to win her over, but the girl coldly said that she was ready to think about it. The blonde promised that at the next meeting, they would sign an official agreement. Scarlet reminded that first it was necessary to get permission from the princess. Smiling, the girl said that she sincerely hoped for it. The Duke sighed heavily and noted that his beloved was becoming more and more charming with each meeting. George realized that she could be useful to him. The guy noticed that she was doing well in business. The blonde couldn't believe that he had agreed to become her partner. He was amazed that Scarlet was smart and independent enough to plan everything in advance. The blonde hoped that everything would go smoothly and he would be able to keep Samuel under his control. Gazing into the azure waters of the channel, Louis realized that the girl had lost a lot of weight since their last meeting. The brunette realized that she hadn't taken a single piece when she was with his master. After returning home, the Duchess sat down on the sofa tiredly. The maid asked her mistress if she should cook dinner. Taking off her luxurious earrings, Scarlet assured that she was not hungry. The girl realized that if she expanded her business with George's help, she would have her own savings and would be independent of her husband. She was overjoyed that she had finally made the first move. The Duchess longed to live freely after the divorce and not depend on anyone. The girl understood that before getting a divorce, she had to learn about Samuel's weaknesses and think about how to use them. Scarlet realized that the Duke was the second most influential person after the imperial family. The girl knew that her husband had much more influence in the capital than George. The Duchess knew that if Joshua's existence was revealed, the brown-haired man's reputation would not suffer. Scarlet realized that it could harm his position. The girl understood that she needed someone who could put pressure on Samuel. She thought about pretending to be the Archduke's lover, as he wanted. Scarlet couldn't afford to be frivolous, because the guy could quickly get tired of it. The Duchess decided not to relax in front of George until she got everything she needed. Scarlet understood perfectly well what he was craving. The brunette interrupted the girl's thoughts and said that she had been brought goods from the Rosella jewelry store. She was confused because she did not expect that the Empress Andrea's necklace would be delivered so quickly. Taking the box, the beauty realized that it was intended for the ring. Having praised the maids, Scarlet said that they could leave. Opening the box, she realized that she had noticed this ring in the store. The girl opened the attached letter. George asked his beloved not to skip meals because if her health worsened, she would not be able to achieve anything. She smiled and realized that this handwriting did not belong to the Archduke. The girl remembered that the brunette saw that she liked this ring the most. Scarlet could not understand why the knight behaved in such a way knowing about her relationship with his master. She realized that such behavior of Louis would not lead to anything good. The girl furiously wanted to throw the ring into the fireplace. The reflection of the flame played on the walls with twitching movements. Scarlet grabbed her lower abdomen and realized that she hadn't eaten much lately and had thrown away all the medications that the doctor had prescribed her. The girl hoped that if she lost even more weight, she would appear ill, and upon learning of her condition, her husband would definitely take action. The lady rang the bell and realized that George might lose interest in her if she became too thin. The maid bowed and asked if she had called her. The Duchess asked the girl to prepare food and bring it to her room. The girl explained that it was quite late and asked to bring something light. With her luxurious hair tied into a ponytail, Scarlet realized that she would not be able to achieve her goals if she did not take care of her health. Taking a spoon, the Duchess reminded herself that she was still far from completing her goal. She realized that she would not be able to hold out until the end if she did not take care of her health. In her hand, Scarlet tightly clutched the beautiful gold ring that the brunette had given her. The brown-haired man helped his wife out of the carriage on the day of the banquet. Samuel said he had not seen this necklace before. The girl assured that she received it as a wedding gift from her parents' house. Scarlet remembered that she wanted to ask her husband for permission for something. The Duchess explained to the guy that her mother wanted to send her sister Erica to the academy in the capital. The girl asked them to help the girl get a formal education in ethics before that. The Duke told his wife that in that case she could do whatever she wanted. Gently touching her hand, the guy asked if she remembered her task at this ball. Taking his arm, Scarlet said that she would do it without any problems. The girl realized that there was something she had to do at this ball. The Duchess planned to meet with Amaryllis and get permission for the gondola business. Soon the couple entered a luxurious, brightly lit hall. In huge vases stood luxurious bouquets of flowers. The aristocrats discussed Madame Tanqueville's new dress. With a radiant smile, Merlin massaged the Emperor's shoulders. The brunette noticed that even His Majesty the Emperor looked better for the first time in a long time. The girl said that it was not for nothing that Madame had been near the emperor for so long. The brunette wondered if it was good news for the empress that His Highness had become close to another woman. The girl realized that the imperial family did not have a very good relationship from the very beginning. Scarlett noticed a blonde in luxurious clothing and immediately realized that she was Princess Amaryllis. The brunette explained that the princess did not have a very good relationship with her father. The girl lowered her voice and said that the empress had suffered a lot from His Highness. The duchess listened attentively to the conversation but did not butt in. Soon a brunette approached the girl and asked her to follow him. Scarlett noticed that the guy had a luxurious broad back. The girl could not understand why he sent her a ring with a beautiful flower. She was sure that the knight was still troubled by what had happened that night. The duchess assumed that Louis had guessed that it had been her first time. The girl assumed that the brunette simply sympathized with her. Scarlett thought about asking the guy not to interfere in her affairs. She realized that the knight was simply pretending that he did not know what she was talking about. The brunette said that his master was waiting inside. Going out onto the luxurious balcony, the girl realized that there was no one there. The blonde took her by the hand, of course, pulled her to him, and looked into her sky-blue eyes. The Archduke said that he missed her very much. Scarlett moved the guy away from her a little and said that her husband was nearby. The guy reminded her that Sam was not there. The duchess said that he was playing with fire. The girl explained that before meeting the princess, she wanted to ask something. She explained that according to rumors, the princess and the emperor do not have a very good relationship. Looking away, the blonde asked if it was possible to describe this in words. The guy explained that there was no one who hated his brother as much as his sister. Scarlett asked what had happened between their highnesses. The Archduke explained that after the birth of his brother, he had taken a lot from his sister. George asked if she had found out that members of the imperial family were born with magical abilities. The girl explained that she had heard a legend that as a gift to the first emperor, the red dragon gave power that was passed down the imperial line. Looking up at the sky, the blonde admitted that he, too, had magical powers once. The guy explained that, over time, the number of members of the imperial family who had magical powers increased, and because of this, internal rebellions broke out and a decree was issued. The Archduke shared that the firstborn child after inheriting the throne must absorb the power of his younger relatives. George reported that there was a possibility to absorb the power of a member of the imperial family before he reached adulthood. The blonde explained that the first child of the empire after coronation absorbs all the power of his younger relatives. The guy explained that in this way, the imperial power was strengthened and rebellion was suppressed. George explained that according to tradition, Amaryllis's sister was originally supposed to become empress. The guy said that the number of family members from whom power can be absorbed must increase in order for the strength of the imperial army to increase. The blonde said that if a woman becomes the successor to the throne, she will focus on ruling and will not have many children. The blonde was removed from her rightful place as crown princess immediately after birth. After coming of age, the girl was married to a womanizer and parasite, Duke Boken. The princess's only task was to give birth to children to increase the magical power of her older brother. Scarlett was shocked by the cruelty of the imperial family. The blonde advised the girl not to tell Amaryllis about the emperor or her ex-husband under any circumstances. The duchess promised to be careful. Nodding towards the exit, the blonde man suggested that she take a walk. Smiling, the boy asked his sister if she had been drinking wine again. The princess greeted her younger brother with a smile. George asked her to think about her health, as she had been skipping a lot of meals lately. Squeezing her little brother's cheeks, the girl said that she was glad that he had come to the capital. The princess hoped that she would see him often. The guy told the blonde that he would like to introduce someone to her. Bowing, Scarlett said that this meeting was a great honor for her and introduced herself. The woman said that she had heard about her. After all, she and the Duke of Huntington were known as lovebirds. The duchess said she considered it a blessing to serve such a husband as Samuel. The princess assumed that the girl had also been unwittingly married to the Duke. Scarlett, nervous, assured that everything was not so. The blonde asked whether Huntington was a freedom-loving man. The woman asked whether the duchess knew how many women in the capital had been in his hands. Scarlett sighed heavily and assured him that it was all in the past, and now he valued her and would never betray her. Laughing, Amaryllis noted that she had heard from her younger brother that she was indeed very perceptive. The princess was amazed at the girl's ability to lie. The Archduke smiled and asked if his sister was interested in hearing Milady's business plan. The blonde suggested that this was not quite the right place for such a conversation. The princess asked to come to her palace next time and promised to listen to everything there. George said that he would also visit the imperial palace. The girl said that her younger brother had already been coming there too often and asked him to stop wandering back and forth. Scarlet asked the guy if the princess liked her. The blonde said that if the sister had not liked her companion, she would not have invited her to the palace. The Duchess looked down and shared her worries that she might have said something wrong in the palace since he wouldn't be there. George assured his beloved that she shouldn't worry. Trying to change the subject, the blonde said that good music had finally filled the room. The Archduke asked the girl if she would give him a dance to relieve the tension. Scarlet hesitantly extended her hand to him, and soon they were dancing. The blonde assured her that she shouldn't worry too much, assuring her that his sister was a kind person. The guy explained that Amaryllis hated men who treated women badly. The Archduke explained that Samuel had been a promiscuous lover before the wedding, and his sister had never been one for that. The blonde explained that the princess thought that such a man could not change in an instant simply because he got married. George asked the girl if this was true. She looked at him in surprise. The guy explained that he meant that the Duke now valued her very much and was devoted to her. Smiling, Scarlet assumed that he was jealous. The blonde said that he was just collecting information about competitors. The girl became very nervous when she noticed her husband. It seemed that he had noticed her too and was now simply staring at her. At parting, George assured the girl that her business would work out well. The blonde said that now this business would belong to them. The Duchess realized that her neck was very tired because the diamond necklace was very heavy. Looking around, she tried to find the restroom with her gaze. The girl walked quickly along the long corridors. Shaden noted that his wife was very popular with the imperial family. She hesitated a little and assumed that Sam had also come to rest. The guy grabbed her and pushed her into the room. Pressing her against the wall, the Duke asked what she had talked about with George. The luxurious earrings injured the girl's cheek, causing her hellish pain. Scarlet explained that she really liked the canals, and so she asked to be introduced to Princess Amaryllis, who owned them. The Duke asked if she had said anything unnecessary. The guy was furious that she had left her husband and was whispering to another man. Sam was furious that someone looking at them might think that they were lovers. The girl tries to stay calm and says that they agreed to look like a happy couple in public. Scarlet was sure that it didn't matter whether she was whispering to another guy. The Duchess explained that she hadn't forgotten her duties. The girl asked why his lordship forbade her to have a personal life. She explained that she did not understand the reason for his anger. Scarlet explained that in the capital, being friends with men other than your husband is just part of social life. The girl said that there was nothing shameful about it. The Duke said that he didn't care what she did with other men and ordered her not to get close to George and the princess. Scarlet expected this and assumed that he did not want his relationship with Joshua to be revealed. The girl could not understand why her husband was isolating her from the princess. The Duchess asked her husband why he was doing this. The brown-haired man angrily hit the wall and ordered her not to be so impudent and not to ask about the reasons. The guy explained that she had completely forgotten the reason why he was so generous with her. Sam said he allowed her to have a personal life because it was ridiculous and cute. The guy said he could revoke this permission at any time. She asked not to perceive it as her right. The Duke said that she was his thing, with which he could do whatever he wanted. The guy assumed that she had forgotten his main goal, which was why he was postponing his marital duty. Sam said that the goal of this case is not only to conceive a child, and for this there is no need to wait to protect her health. With burning eyes, the brown-haired man said that he would fulfill his duty right now. Scarlet's body trembled with fear. Fortunately for the girl, the door swung open, distracting the Duke. Her eyes were cut by the bright light. The brunette assumed that she had disturbed the newlyweds' privacy. Marilyn apologized for interfering so shamelessly. The woman said that His Majesty the Emperor's speech would soon begin, and suggested that the couple should return to the banquet hall. The guy put his arm around his wife's shoulder and suggested doing just that. The brown-haired man apologized and quickly left the room. The Emperor, in a trembling voice, asked everyone present to come closer. Scarlet was shaking slightly. She looked at her hand and realized that she couldn't stop shaking. The Emperor's mistress asked the Duchess if she could help her. Taking the girl by the hand, Merlin explained that this was a woman's problem and promised to tell her everything when they left here. Winking, the brunette informed Duke Huntington that she would lend his wife for a short time. The woman led Scarlet into the luxurious imperial garden. The Duchess asked how she should help. Winking, the brunette explained that this was a lie and there was no problem. The woman explained that she wanted to ask the girl something in private. Merlin explained that she was too weak for such romantic requests. The woman extended her hand and asked the Duchess to come in. The brunette asked him to tell Samuel that she had started her period and asked him to help her get herself in order. The brunette waved her hand and said that it was time for her to leave. Scarlet assumed that George had asked to call her to this secluded place. The guy called out to her and asked if everything was okay. The Duchess was a little taken aback when she noticed Sir Louis. Louis explained that he had seen the Duke drag her into the sitting room. The knight noted that the atmosphere at the time was rather uneasy, so he asked Lady Tanquil to invite her into the garden for a while. The brunette apologized for butting into something that wasn't his business. Hot tears poured out of Scarlet's eyes. For the first time in a long time, she felt warmth and care. The girl assured that something simply got into her eye. Louis held her close without further ado, assuring her that everything was fine and that no one would see her. The brunette said that he would wait until whatever had gotten into her eye passed. She couldn't afford to be weak again and show herself like that. Moving away from him, the girl assured him that everything was fine. The Duchess reported that she really did have something in her eye. The knight carefully unfastened the clasp of the heavy diamond necklace. Scarlet realized that once the necklace was gone, it became much easier to breathe. Taking the jewelry in his hands, the brunette noticed that it was quite heavy. Wiping away tears, the girl said that because of its weight, it was quite expensive, and asked to give it back. The knight said that he would hold the necklace for a while because she had been breathing heavily all day. Looking back, Scarlet assumed that he had been spying on her all day. The brunette gently ran his finger along her cheek, noticing the wounds on her skin. Louis asked her to wait a little and reached his hand under his luxurious jacket. Soon the boy took a small bottle and applied it to a snow-white handkerchief. The Duchess noticed that every time they met, he treated her wound. Louis said that she was the one who got hurt too often. Embarrassed, the girl suggested that even if she got hurt, she could just pretend that he didn't notice. Embarrassed, she asked him why he was constantly worried about her. Scarlet realized that they had only spent one night. The Duchess realized that she was so pathetic that on her wedding night she cried and begged another man to embrace her. She was sure that he sent her gifts out of pity and looked after her all day. Scarlet could not understand why the brunette appeared in front of her when she was at her hardest. She still couldn't decide what to do. The brunette asked if the Duchess was his master's mistress. The knight assured her that he was simply watching over her safety. Scarlet looked at him with distrust and asked if he was worried about her only because she was the Archduke's mistress. She wanted to know what he really felt for her when he warned her to beware of George. The girl asked what the brunette would do if his master's mistress tried to kiss another man. She kissed him passionately, but could not understand who was making the sound of her heart, which was about to jump out of her chest. Scarlet pushed the guy away from herself, realizing that she couldn't be sincere. The Duchess realized that these feelings could backfire on both her and her keeper. Stepping aside, she assured him that it was just a joke and asked him not to misunderstand her. Louis hugged his beloved tightly and kissed her passionately. The brunette said that if George reproached her for kissing another, she could say that he forced her to do it. The guy put the jewel in her fragile hands and bowed and disappeared behind the green hedge. She watched him go, realizing that only this man was sincere with her. Once in the carriage, the Duchess could not forget that passionate kiss. Scarlet wondered if she had always enjoyed kissing so much. The girl realized that until now, kissing had felt completely different. She assumed that when a person had a lover, they wanted to kiss. Scarlet wanted to feel such a sweet and hot feeling again. The brown-haired man suggested that his wife finish their recent conversation. Sam explained that her duties that had to be performed would be discussed. The guy reported that the servants told him that she ate so poorly. The Duke assumed that she thought she could avoid it this way. Shaitan said that even if the body was not ready, they would try, and sooner or later the child would appear. Sam told the girl that they would start that night. The guy asked if she needed to be given a little more time. Roughly grabbing her hand, The brown-haired man suggested doing it right in the carriage. The girl shuddered with fear because she did not want this. The Duke said that he was indulgent towards her because she was quite nice. Sam was amazed how a simple girl pretended to be smart and pretended to have achieved something. The brown-haired man said that he would leave her this time, but would come the next day. He asked her to prepare well before this. Scarlett realized that the next day she would have to do this with her husband. The girl peered into the twilight of the night. The Duchess did not know whether she should continue to be her husband's tool. Scarlett bit her finger nervously, drawing blood. The thought of merging with him was disgusting to her. She understood the original meaning of the whole action. The Duchess looked back at the candle, which no longer gave off a bright light. She lit a match with a light movement of her hand and brought it to the lamp. Scarlett clutched the light source tightly in her hand and decided not to be so helpless anymore. She threw on her cloak and walked quickly down the long corridors. Soon the Duchess knocked on the door. Hearing the knock, the blonde quickly jumped up from the floor and headed for the door. She hoped that her lover had come to her at such a late hour. Joshua, with a radiant smile and glowing amber eyes, opened the door, assuming that her lover suddenly wanted to see her. Soon the smile changed to confusion when she saw the silhouette of her rival. The blonde asked Scarlett why she had come to her. The girl assured that if she made fun of her, she would tell Sam everything and he would scold her. The Duchess calmly informed him that Samuel was going to spend the next night with her. The girl explained that she had told her this just in case. Scarlett was surprised that the blonde didn't care. She explained that if she joined her body with her husband, she would create a child. The Duchess explained that if she gave birth, he would become the next duke and one day take over the mansion. Scarlett reminded her husband's mistress that he would grow old before her. The girl asked the blonde to imagine what would happen in such a case. The Duchess noticed the surprise on the girl's face if she knew that she had never thought about it. Scarlett reminded herself that the blonde had been locked up since she was 6 years old, and because of that, she knew nothing about this world. The Duchess confidently said that the offer she made last time was still valid. The mistress of the duchy said that she could help her get out of this place. Scarlett begged the blonde to help her prevent her from merging with her husband. The girl promised to help her in such a case. The blonde asked not to lie. Joshua explained that her lover had promised her that he would never sleep with his wife. The Duchess asked again if he had promised her. The blonde explained that Sam was forced to do this for the sake of their child. The girl tried to understand what she meant. The Duchess clarified why she was needed for Joshua's child. The blonde lowered her eyes and explained that Sam had said that if she gave birth to his child, he would not be able to accept the illegitimate child. The girl explained that if the daughter of the poor were appointed duchess, vassals will protest she will not be able to act. Joshua explained to the rival that her child will enjoy wealth and honor and have a happy life. The girl realized that even if her mistress gave birth to a child, the Duke would spread rumors that it was she who gave birth. Scarlett realized what the couple in love meant when they called her an instrument for conception. The Duchess clarified that there were no other reasons why Samuel should sleep with her. The girl clarified again whether he had promised her not to do this. The blonde explained that her lover had promised her that he would sleep with no other girl except her. The Duchess realized that she had no idea what Sam did outside the mansion. Scarlett asked what she would do if he broke his promise. The girl assumed that the blonde would get angry, after which she would be punished again and locked in this room. Throwing on a black robe, Scarlett said that she could think about whatever she wanted. The Duchess said that if she left everything like that, she would sleep with her husband. The girl asked the blonde to continue in the same spirit. Joshua asked the night guest to stop. Sadness mixed with pain was visible in the amber eyes. The blonde asked her rival if the Duke had really agreed to sleep with her. The girl tied the fabric and rope and hung it on a massive board. The brown-haired man ordered his mistress to calm down. Joshua reminded her lover that he promised that he had a wife and that nothing would happen and that it was just a fictitious marriage. The girl reminded her lover that this is exactly what he told her. Sam said that nothing would really happen between them and she had misunderstood everything. The guy asked who told his lover that he would sleep with Scarlett. The blonde, breaking into a scream, said that Madame Amour had already told her everything. The girl clarified what significance it had at the moment. Joshua said that if he spent a night of love with another, she would hang herself. The guy gently touched her hand and ordered her to calm down. The brown-haired man took her in his arms and tried to calm her down. The girl asked him to promise that he would not sleep with his wife. The Duke promised that he would never spend the night with Scarlett. Sam assured that he had never even thought about it. The blonde said that from now on, he would come to sleep with her every day without exception. The Duke said that this was too much, and despite the fact that it was a fictitious marriage, he should spend time with his wife. The guy gently removed the noose from the blonde's neck and said that you should enter into the situation. The brown-haired man explained that it would be strange if the newlyweds did not live in the same room. Joshua asked if her lover would go to his rival. Raising his hands, the guy assured her that they would simply share a room and nothing more. The blonde asked her lover to prove it to her. The guy asked if he had to do it. Joshua told her lover that if he couldn't take off his pants, she would feel better. The blonde said that if even one of these threads broke, she didn't want to see him anymore. The girl said that if he wanted to take off his pants, he should come to her. The Duke was surprised and asked what kind of fidelity pants she had come up with. Joshua said that if he doesn't like it, he doesn't have to leave and live with her forever. Scarlett peered into the night sky and distant cold stars. Soon her husband entered the room in a luxurious white robe. The brunette asked if she had told Madame Moore that they would spend the night together. The Duchess explained that she was not very experienced and asked the woman for advice. The girl explained that she did not know that this had to be kept secret, and was sure that it was quite natural between a married couple. Sam, sitting comfortably on the sofa, explained that it was not her fault, but that Madame had too long a tongue. The wife noticed that the Duke looked tired and asked if he wanted a drink. The guy ordered her to pour something. Scarlett carefully handed him a glass of wine. He noticed that his wife was wearing a very indecent outfit. The brown-haired man said that in any case, a country bumpkin will remain a country bumpkin. The guy noticed that he was not in the mood and asked him to pay more attention to his clothes next time. Scarlett realized that he had not touched her because of his mistress and therefore used her appearance as an excuse. The Duke held out the glasses and asked for some more. The room was flooded with bright sunlight. The girl was happily eating a bunch of grapes. Sam was lying on a huge double bed clutching a bottle of alcohol. The brunette came to and touched his chastity pants. The Duke said that it was time for him to leave, since he had drunk a lot and his head was hurting badly. Scarlett watched him go with a grin. The blonde hopefully asked her rival if he had simply fallen asleep and then left. The hostess assured her that her husband had gotten drunk and had soon fallen asleep and had not laid a finger on her. Joshua recalled that she said that her lover quickly fell asleep when he drank wine. The Duchess said that, as promised, she would help her get out. Scarlett asked if there was a place where the blonde wanted to go. With shining eyes, the girl said that there was one place she dreamed of visiting. The captive threw a green cape over herself and stood and gazed with admiration at the azure waters of the canal. Joshua was delighted with the beauty of the Floria Canal. The blonde pointed out the flowers that grew near the bridge and explained that they were given to her by her lover. The Duchess reported that there were many flowers on the banks of the canal, and even more during the day. The girl was delighted with the beauty of this place. After thinking for a bit, Scarlett asked how she ended up in the estate. The blonde explained that her mother had died and she had nowhere to go, and her lover had taken her in. The girl asked her rival who her father was. Looking at the city with admiration, Joshua said that she only had a mother. The girl wondered if her mother had seen such canals. In the village where they lived, there was absolutely nothing. The blonde noticed the boats, pointed at them, and admired their beauty. Scarlett assured that soon there would be boats much more beautiful than these. The girl explained that gondolas were boats in which boatmen sang songs. The Duchess explained that those trays would have high sides through which water would not leak, and would be very convenient for admiring the scenery. The blonde sighed dreamily and suggested that it would be great to sit on a boat listening to songs and eating snacks. Joshua suggested that it would be very uplifting. The girl grinned and suggested that she knew where she could buy some tasty food. The blonde said that she would like to see cute and sweet cookies sold there. Scarlett told the girl that despite the circumstances under which they met, she did not want to hate her. The Duchess reminded them that they were the same age and lived in the same house. The girl suggested that they continue to help each other and be friends. Taking her hands, the blonde confessed that he had a girlfriend for the first time. Joshua asked his girlfriend if she would be able to take her out in the future. The girl explained that they couldn't get caught by the servants, and therefore they wouldn't be able to walk around often. The blonde, looking down, assumed that if they got caught, her lover would get angry at both of them. The Duchess asked the girl if she loved Samuel. Scarlett reminded her that he forbade her to leave the estate and does not let her go anywhere. Phone, keeping her in fear. Smiling, the girl reminded him that it was only because she disobeyed him. Joshua explained that her lover was only trying to protect her from the dangers that lay outside. The blonde explained that the Duke did a lot of good things for her and bought her everything she wanted. Scarlett asked the girl why Sam married her if he loved her. The girl explained that her lover wanted to protect her. The blonde said that the family constantly pestered the guy with questions about marriage and wanted him to break off relations with her. The mistress explained that he made the Baron's daughter a duchess so that their child would be recognized as the heir. The rival reminded Joshua that her child would grow up calling her mom. The girl asked if she agreed to that. The blonde reminded that she couldn't do anything because she was an orphan and her lover was a duke. Joshua said that Sam was expecting her child to be his heir. The mistress was sure that it would be easier if he married an aristocrat and looked after the child. Smiling, the blonde said that he loved only her. Scarlett reminded her that she would be locked in a tiny room, and her child would be raised by another woman. Clutching the pier's handrail tightly, the blonde explained that she could endure everything thanks to his love. The Duchess asked if the girl knew for sure that she loved him. The girl reminded that she had spent her whole life locked up and had never seen anyone except the brunette. Scarlett said that yes, she could meet another man who would be even better than Samuel. The blonde said that there was no one better than him. The girl explained that he was handsome, sensual, and loved only her. Scarlett asked her husband's mistress where she got this information from. The Duchess explained that he took her into his home when she was still a little girl, lied to her, intimidated her, and did not support her at all. The blonde looked at her reflection in the water. Tears began to flow quickly from her eyes. The girl was sure that Sam's wife wanted to stand between them. Joshua assumed that her rival wanted to take her lover away from her. The blonde assured that she would never separate her from him. The Duchess calmly said that she could think so if it calmed her down even a little. Turning away, the Duchess explained that if the one who said he loved her disappeared, then she would not be able to cope with anything alone. Scarlett explained that if you become attached to the love you feel for a person out of fear and continue to cling to it, then at one point you actually begin to believe that you love him. The girl admitted that she was also sure that she loved her father. Scarlett explained that she listened and obeyed him in everything, believing that he did everything to protect her and make her happy. The Duchess asked Joshua if she looked safe and happy. The girl admitted that she had been sold to Samuel like a commodity. Scarlett said that it is very easy to raise an obedient child. She said that while everyone justifies their actions with love, she realizes that this is violence. The Duchess said that she had no choice but to become dependent on this love. The guy gently stroked his beloved's hair and asked if she had slept last night. Sam noticed that the blonde had been acting rather strange all day. The Duke asked if everything was okay and if he should call a doctor. The blonde smiled and assured him that she was perfectly fine. The brown-haired man kissed her tenderly on the forehead. He told Joshua that if she was in any pain, she could tell them at any time. When the guy left, the blonde was left sitting on the floor, tightly clutching two small dolls. Amaryllis asked Milady to come in. Bowing to the Duchess, she said that it was an honor for her to meet Her Highness again. The blonde assumed that the girl had come to tell her something. Scarlett reminded herself that in order to successfully implement her project, she needed to get the princess's permission. Amaryllis asked the girl about the gondola business. The very nervous girl explained that if she gave permission, it would help to glorify the Florinsky Vodokanal. The blonde suggested that he would become even more handsome and attract many more people. The Duchess reminded him that the princess's son would soon get married. Scarlett explained that she had heard that she was looking for fresh ideas for organizing the wedding ceremony. The girl suggested presenting these gondolas for the first time at the wedding of Prince Birkin. The blonde asked again to clarify the girl's idea. The Duchess explained that instead of walking to the altar, the bride and groom would swim to it. The girl explained that the residents of the capital will remember such a wedding for a long time. The Duchess noted that it would have a deeper meaning if the prince took his first step towards starting a family life through a channel owned by his esteemed mother. The princess laughed and realized why George had decided to invest so much money in this project. Amaryllis noticed that she knew how to get people interested. A faint smile appeared on the Duchess's face. She could not believe that she could get permission so easily. The blonde said that before giving the go-ahead, she wanted to know something. The woman clarified why the businesswoman asked for patronage, not from her husband, but from George. The princess reported that the Duke of Huntington was proud of his authority as a friend of the imperial family. Amaryllis was sure that the guy could not have problems with money. The Duchess assured that her husband had no problems with money, but he was not interested in shipbuilding. Scarlett said that the Duke was busy reviewing the estates and servants, and she did not want to disturb him. The girl explained that it was solely her desire to continue the work that her father taught her. The blonde assumed that without her husband's help, all the profits would go to Scarlett alone. Amaryllis asked the Duchess to give an honest answer. She assumed that the Duchess wanted to escape from Samuel. Scarlett began to recite the text she had learned in advance. The woman said that she could deceive anyone, but not her. The blonde admitted that she knew what it was like to live with a man who had left his wife for nothing. The girl hesitated a little and pretended not to understand what was being discussed. The woman stood up and asked to follow her. Amaryllis explained that her mother had asked for this gallery to be built because she loved painting so much. Pointing to the brunette, the princess explained that she was George's biological mother and the second wife of the previous emperor. The blonde shared that her mother died giving birth to His Majesty Frederick III. The princess shared that the emperor then had a second wife who gave birth to George, and she replaced her real mother. Amaryllis asked the girl if her younger brother had told her anything about the woman. The Duchess admitted that she had never heard of her. The blonde assumed that George had kept quiet about how the empress had died. Scarlett remembered hearing about a tragic incident after the current emperor's coronation. The girl admitted that she didn't know for sure. Amaryllis explained that the death of the woman who had become her mother was presented as an accident, but in fact, it was Frederick who killed her. The girl was taken aback by such information. The princess assumed that she had already heard that initially, the throne was inherited by the firstborn, regardless of gender. With each one, she remembered that the previous emperor had passed the throne to his son, not his daughter. The blonde explained that he justified his actions by saying that women should bear children. The woman explained that as soon as her son was born, he deprived her of her right to the throne and appointed Frederick as his heir. She said that her father gave everything to his younger brother. The princess reported that the emperor not only deprived her of her status as heir, but also took away her son's magical powers. Amaryllis mentioned that the heir, often regarded as a spoiled child, had become an unpleasant individual. With a sorrowful heart, the blonde acknowledged that her brother had acted improperly toward women. Frederick not only cheated on his wife, but also ridiculed the ladies of the court, using physical violence against them, and also beat men who dared to stand up for them. The princess shared that even the emperor eventually became disillusioned with his son. The woman said that when George was born, he wanted to raise him to be more docile and remove the firstborn from the throne in order to appoint the guy as crown prince. Raising her eyes to the sky so as not to cry, the blonde explained that Frederick had guessed everything and killed his father. The woman reported that when he ascended to the throne, he wanted to deprive George of all power and then kill him. The princess involuntarily recalled the years of her youth, how she watched the bullying of her younger brother. Amaryllis could only watch as the killer strangled and tortured the baby. The blonde reported that while taking his brother's power, he felt himself growing. The emperor realized that the more magic he received, the stronger he would become. Frederick was sure that his sister would give birth to a bunch of more children, and he could kill his rival without any problems. The brunette fell to her knees and asked to kill her instead of George. The emperor grinned and tightly gripped the hilt of the sword. The blonde was delighted with the nobility of his lady. Frederick said that for the sake of the empress, he would show generosity and do as she asked. Hot tears gushed from the brunette's eyes. The woman, with hands trembling with fear, laid her son, who was unconscious, on the ground. The amber eyes reflected pain and awareness of everything that was happening. The guy saw how his closest person committed harakiri. Breaking into a scream, the blonde called for his mother. Scarlett realized that the boy's mother had died right before his eyes. The princess explained that each member of the imperial family was born with a unique magical gift. Amaryllis explained that the Archduke had healing magic. The blonde reported that before his ability was taken away, he could even regrow a severed leg, so strong was his magic. The Duke asked his brother, who begged the person closest to him not to die, if he could heal her. The baby's hands were quickly covered in blood, and a desperate cry poured from his mouth. The Duchess felt sick at the realization that he could not save his mother because his powers were taken away. Amaryllis explained that after that, the boy practically never left Kingsley's estate. The princess shared that her son Mike, after his magic was taken away, was exiled to a monastery. Smiling, the woman said that by that time she had already turned 18, and her younger brother could not take away her magical gift. The blonde assumed that he left her alive because the female sex was deprived of the right to inherit the throne, and it was much more profitable to deprive the sons of their powers. Amaryllis reported that her male relatives used her as a tool. The blonde admitted that her married life was like a nightmare. The princess said that she could clearly see those who did not marry for love and understood what they wanted. The woman said that she was ready to support Scarlett's idea because she needed money and a place to escape from her father and husband. Amaryllis promised the girl to give her permission to rebuild the canal if she was honest with her there. The blonde asked if the Duchess was preparing for a divorce from Sam. The girl lowered her eyes and froze, not knowing what to answer. The Duchess reported that her husband was a very good man. The girl explained that the human heart is prone to change, and therefore she must be prepared for anything. Smiling, the princess noticed the wonderful answer. Amaryllis assumed that the guest would do this in secret from her husband. The Duchess admitted that she would be grateful if she gave the go-ahead. The blonde said that she would allow the use of the water supply. The woman was sure that she could come if she needed anything else. Scarlett beamed and thanked him for his generosity. The princess admitted that she couldn't wait to see the gondolas at her son's wedding. The blonde said she would meet with them and discuss it. The Duchess promised to prepare a rough plan and bring it for approval. The woman suggested that her mother belonged to the Mudd family. After confirmation from Scarlett, the blonde said that in her family there was the famous portrait artist Betty. The princess assumed that the portraits were in the palace gallery. The Duchess said that the woman was her grandmother. Embarrassed, the girl admitted that she had inherited her scarlet hair from her. The blonde said she couldn't remember Betty Mudd having scarlet hair. Pointing to one of the paintings, Amaryllis said that it was a self-portrait of Betty and that she had brown hair. The princess noticed that the girl did not look much like the woman who looked from the portrait. The girl lowered her eyes and assumed that she didn't remember her grandmother very well. The Duchess looked out over the forest landscape. Scarlett remembered that everyone had reproached her for the color of her hair and had assumed that her mother was a harlot. The woman was comforting the baby when you were crying. The brunette claimed that she looked like her grandmother, who had the same hair as her. The Duchess realized that until that moment she had taken those words at face value, even when her father had forced her to marry the Duke of Huntington against her will. Scarlett realized that she might not be the Baron's biological daughter. Soon the little girl ran up to her older sister and hugged her tightly. The girl remembered that her mother had said that she would send Erica to learn the rules of behavior in high society. The Duchess asked her sister if she had entered the academy. Erica was delighted by the beauty of the capital's landscapes. The girl explained that this was why she asked her mother to send her to study in the city. The brunette asked how her sister felt after the wedding. Erica asked if her husband treated his older sister well. Smiling, the Duchess assured him that he was very kind. Scarlett realized that she really wasn't like the rest of her relatives. After all, Erica took after her mother, and Jonathan after his father. The girl wondered whose blood flowed through her veins. With a cheerful smile, the foreigner assumed that the lady had come to study the project. The Duchess said that she had come to talk about the gondola business. The businesswoman said she wanted to give the Dishmad Guild a special task. Scarlett asked if he could keep a secret. The girl said that she wanted to clarify something with Benjamin, who was her previous butler. The Duchess realized that he had worked here in the Chandler house before she was born. She wanted to know who her real family was. The girl explained that the question was very sensitive and suggested that it would not be easy to get an answer. Scarlett asked if a man could help her. The sponsor whispered something in his ear. The brown-haired man assured her that it was possible and asked her to trust him. The lady said that she would pay part of the money in advance and give the rest later. Putting her finger to her lips, the Duchess asked him to be silent. Erica carefully wrote out the words. The Duchess looked out from behind the many bookshelves and smiled at her little sister. The girl asked if she was distracting her from her studies. The brunette assured that everything was fine. The teacher noted that Mrs. Erica counted quickly and was very smart. Scarlett smiled. and explained that she was a merchant's daughter and had been able to count since she was a child. The madam joked that given the beauty and education of the little girl, suitors would line up to marry her. The brunette said that she achieved this thanks to her older sister. The girl said that thanks to the Duke, her brother began to study knighthood. Scarlett realized that her father had married her off to arrange the future of his biological children. The girl realized that because of her background, even her mother did not love her. The Duchess remembered that since childhood, the most difficult tasks were entrusted to her, while her brother and sister were given only the easy ones. The girl was sure that it was because of her age and expectations. Taking the Duchess by the hands, the sister said that she was very envious of her. The brunette explained that when she was very little, her father believed that he had no need to educate both daughters and did not involve her in the affairs of the guild. Erica explained that her older sister was good at everything because of her mindset. The girl assured that she also wanted to become like her sister, and therefore begged her parents to send her to study at the academy. The little girl said that she was really looking forward to being taught the capital's manners. Pressing herself against her older sister, Erica promised to become just like her. Scarlett realized that the little girl grew up perceiving her as her own older sister and lovingly repeated everything she did. The Duchess remembered how her younger sister calmed her down when her father was screaming in anger. The girl realized that despite the different blood, she would always remain her beloved little sister. The Duchess told the brunette that she should live much happier than she did. The girl asked Lady Moore to take care of the girl so that she would be comfortable in their mansion. The Archduke asked his sister if she had agreed to such a thing. Amaryllis explained that the rumors that the girl and Samuel were doing well were a lie. The princess explained that not even a month had passed since the Duke's wedding, and his wife was already dreaming of a divorce. George noted that everything had turned out exactly as they had expected. The blonde advised her younger brother to gain Scarlett's trust and make her reveal her husband's secrets. He said that he would invite his beloved to celebrate the successful launch of the project and offer to give a toast. The Archduke peered into the contents of his glass, his amber eyes glowing with anticipation of something grand. Two glasses collided under the dim light of the night sky, and drops of wine splashed into the turquoise waters of the strait. The blonde offered this girl a drink to their common cause. The Archduke said that he wanted to see the gondolas sailing along the waters of the canal as soon as possible. Scarlett supported the guy, saying that there was very little time left. The blonde asked his beloved if everything was okay at that banquet when her husband called her away. George noticed that the brown-haired man had a displeased expression on his face when they danced, and he admitted that he was worried about the Duchess. Scarlett remembered that thanks to Lady Tanquil, they were able to avoid conflict. The Duchess involuntarily recalled the passionate kiss with Louis, from which her heart began to jump out of her chest, and her face was covered in beads of cold sweat. The girl said that nothing terrible had happened and thanked him for his concern. She glanced at her beloved, who was guarding their peace. The guy asked if the businesswoman could be frank with him. George said that they were now in the same boat. The blonde explained that if she had any difficulties, she could share them with him. The Archduke tenderly kissed Scarlett's graceful hand. He said he would always want to win her heart. The girl said it wasn't for sale. The blonde said that made him want it even more. Smiling, Scarlett asked how he could help her if she really had difficulties. The guy suggested that his beloved first tell him what was bothering her. The Duchess vaguely reported that her husband had hurt her body and soul. The blonde asked his lover whether Sam had been faithful or whether he had affairs with other women. Smiling, Scarlett asked what he could do if the brown-haired man did both. Smiling, the Archduke said that he would kill the guy. The Duchess was a little taken aback, realizing that George was ready to kill his close friend for her sake. The guy said that the more she looked at her, the more he liked her. The blonde said that he was ready to fight Samuel to the death for her sake. Covering his mouth, the girl asked if he entertained everyone with such words. The guy admitted that before this incident, everyone had been led astray. Scarlett said that his previous lovers were naive fools because they believed that he was ready to die for the first woman he met. The Duchess was sure that the man was ready. To give one's life for love existed only in novels. The girl explained that the opposite sex was only interested in dry profit, and they would not act to their own detriment. Scarlett adjusted her luxurious ruby hair and said that she was not so simple-minded as to confuse fiction with reality. The blonde noted that she was indeed quite clever. The Archduke reported that her cleverness made her even more attractive. George wondered why he wanted to own something that could be easily bought when it was much more tempting to steal it. The blonde suggested that Scarlett was provoking him. The guy said that she had already managed to charm him. Smiling, the girl said that stealing items not for sale was a crime. The blonde ignored her remarks, noticing that she had hurt herself. The Duchess informed him that it was nothing serious. George assumed that her words were true. The guy was sure that the brown-haired man beat and cheated. Pomraknev, the blonde, asked the girl if his close friend had really hit his wife. Scarlett was amazed that he was actually angry because of such a small bruise. Pressing the girl tightly to himself, the blonde promised to destroy his rival. George explained that he would tear apart with his own hands anyone who laid a finger on Scarlett. I was a little taken aback because I didn't even suspect that he could be sincere, because it all started as simple entertainment. The Duchess was sure that there was nothing wrong with this, and it would not interfere with her escape plan. Looking at him sternly, the girl asked if he really loved her. Smiling, George assumed she was right, because he was indeed ready to kill Samuel. She asked if he could help her. Scarlett said she couldn't give details, but she was preparing for a divorce. And she said that was the reason she was rebuilding the Florentia Canal with the Archduke's money, not her husband's. The guy assured her that if the project brought in a good profit, then after the divorce she would have money for an independent life. The girl said that her husband would not let her go just like that. And taking his hand, Scarlett said that in order to get a divorce, she would have to put in a lot of effort. The Duchess said she would need protection before she escaped from Samuel Huntington. The girl reminded him that he was the most influential member of the imperial family, since he was the heir to the throne. She supported the guy, saying that he would not yield to the Duke in strength. Scarlett asked if he could protect her so that she could calmly leave her husband. The blonde said that he had one condition. Pomraknev asked the guy to tell who the Duke's mistress was. George said that if she told him this information, he would do as she wanted. The girl, a little taken aback, asked why this information interested him so much. The blonde swore to leave no one alive who hurt her, no matter who they were. Scarlett realized that he wanted to get rid of not only her husband, but also Joshua. The Duchess hesitated, not knowing whether she should tell the guy about the blonde's existence or hide her extramarital affair with her husband. The girl fell silent, thinking about the right answer. The girl wanted to protect her husband's mistress. Therefore, she insisted that he had not cheated on her, but rather that she had cheated on him. The girl explained that Samuel had someone he had been in love with before their wedding. The Duchess doubted that this could be called cheating. Scarlett explained that a grown man had taken a 6-year-old orphan into his care and started dating her when she grew up. The Archduke, somewhat surprised, asked again what that was. The Duchess explained that when she was little, her wife did not touch her. But at that moment, the girl was already 20 years old, and he introduced her as his mistress. Scarlett lowered her eyes and shared that her husband had hidden the blonde's existence from her. The girl explained that if she had known, she would have undoubtedly done something. The Duchess insisted that her appearance had also hurt the girl. Scarlett said she didn't want to hurt her anymore. She admitted she just wanted to come between them. The blonde asked the Duchess what she would accept if the girl turned out to be pregnant. Scarlett said that she had not yet carried a child under her heart, but one day it would happen. The girl assumed that Samuel would want to recognize her child as his heir. The businesswoman explained that he married her because he needed an aristocrat in order to confer this status on his illegitimate child. George asked again if she was going to give birth to the Duke's heir. The guy clarified whether the Duke had ended his relationship with that girl. Scarlett reported that her husband spent their wedding night in the blonde's room, but was never with her. Pomraknev Archduke thanked her for sharing this information with him. The guy asked Scarlett to tell him immediately if her husband's mistress became pregnant. The blonde grinned and said that there was nothing worse than having a child out of wedlock. George said that she could use it as dirt during a divorce. The girl realized that once Joshua had a child, she would be unable to do anything. She realized that the birth of an illegitimate child would be an excellent basis for divorce. Scarlett knew she could only wait. The Duchess promised to inform her business partner if this happened. The guy hugged his beloved and assumed that it broke her heart. The blonde didn't even imagine that Samuel was such a psycho. George noted that his good friend hid his nasty side very well. The Archduke swore he would pay for it. Scarlett said she wanted protection, not revenge. The boy swore that he would never harm her. Lifting the girl's face, the blonde kissed her tenderly. With pain in his heart, the knight watched from afar. The blonde asked to tell him if something happened. The aristocrat, embarrassed, thanked him for his concern. The Archduke said that he could not allow himself to let her go alone. The boy ordered Louis to escort my lady. Bowing, the knight said that he considered this order from his master an honor. Embarrassed, Scarlett assured him that she could walk on her own. The blonde could not understand the reason for her refusal and asked her to do him a favor by accepting Sir Edmund's escort. The blonde said that it was for her own good, and our heroine had no choice but to agree. The Duchess looked for a moment at his raven-colored hair, which shimmered in the dim moonlight. Knocking on the small window of the carriage, the girl asked to be let out. She assured him that she could get there on her own. The knight reminded him that Mr. George had ordered him to take her home. Scarlett suggested that the guy just say that he drove her. Louis said that it did not cause him any inconvenience, and the safety of the Duchess was above all else. The girl explained that this was not necessary and ordered the crew to stop. The aristocrat warned that if he did not stop the carriage, she would tell George about their relationship. A few moments later, the carriage jerked and stopped. The girl almost fell from the sudden braking. Approaching the door, the brunette asked dryly what kind of relationship they had. She turned away from embarrassment and asked again whether he himself knew. The guy asked whether she was in love with his master. Louis said that if she could tell about something that didn't happen, she could do it if it would make her feel better. The knight asked the girl not to fall in love with George, because it could be dangerous. Scarlett looked at the brunette and asked what he meant by that. The guy got into the carriage and pulled the huge curtains over the windows. Louis sat down opposite her and asked her if she knew the reason why Archduke Kingsley was trying to win her heart. The girl admitted that she did not know the reason why he was interested in her. The Duchess explained that she initially had fun hanging out with him, but at some point, she realized that she liked him. The brunette reported that she was also very attractive to his master. The knight assured that this was not the main reason. To her surprised look, Louis explained that Mr. George wanted to achieve one goal, the path to which was filled with dangers. The brunette explained that the gentleman avoided serious relationship. The guy said that the Archduke did not want to risk the life of his beloved. Scarlett admitted that the blonde was quite attractive to her, but interrupting the girl, the brunette suggested that she could somehow help him get what he wanted. Louis was sure that this was why such an influential man was trying to win her love. The knight reminded him that the Archduke could do a lot and said that she could also use him for her own purposes. The brunette said that as long as the master needed Scarlett, he would do anything for her. The guy asked his beloved not to fall in love with the blonde for real, because she could get hurt. The Duchess realized that the brunette did not look like a man who would say such a thing out of jealousy. She assumed that he considered his master a cold and calculating man. Scarlett asked if the brunette served him out of fear. Louis said that he understood why the Archduke became like that. The guy asked Scarlett if she knew what the current emperor had done in his youth. The brunette recalled that he had killed the boy's own mother when he lost his magical powers. The knight explained that after ascending the throne, Frederick became even more cruel to women. The Duchess recalled rumors that he had beaten up a man who had stood up for his wife. The brunette Pomraknev reported that the woman was his mother. The knight explained that it happened when he was still a weak child. Louis shared that the emperor, in a drunken state, mocked his mother. The brunette reported that when her father stood up for her, the emperor attacked him. The guy said that his mother could not recover from that shame and committed suicide shortly after the incident. The knight explained that none of the emperor's close associates or nobles came to his mother's funeral because they were afraid to go against His Highness's word. Louis reported that the tyrant did not even apologize. The guy said that the only person who came to his mother's funeral was Archduke Kingsley. The blonde man apologized on his brother's behalf. George said he knew it was useless to ask forgiveness from someone who was already dead. The boy swore that he would never allow such a thing to happen again. Hot tears flowed from his eyes, mixing with the cold rain that fell from the sky, as if mourning the deceased. After this, the young earl applied for the role of apprentice at Kingsley's estate and was accepted. The boy reported that after this he was knighted. The brunette explained that he had sworn an oath of allegiance to the Archduke. The count assured that he had never regretted this decision. Lewis said that soon the gentleman began to be filled with anger and hatred. The brunette watched as the Archduke slowly began to turn into a cold and calculating man. Lewis explained that the gentleman had lost too much to be able to truly love someone. The guy was sure that George could not allow himself to love a woman if it did not bring him some benefit. The brunette assured that the gentleman was not one to cause pain for pleasure. The knight said that the gentleman liked Scarlet and that he would protect her and asked to take advantage of this. The brunette asked her to never give the guy her heart, otherwise the girl risked never getting it back. The interlocutor began to nervously wring her hands. The Duchess said that she had met the blonde man not because she had tender feelings for him. Scarlet assured that she was not a naive fool who was ready to give her heart to anyone. The brunette took her words as truth. The knight promised to drop her off a little further, since it was difficult to walk in these places. Lewis slammed the carriage doors shut. Entering the estate, the Duchess gave her outerwear to the maid. Scarlet wondered what dangerous thing the Archduke could be planning. The girl could not understand how she could help the blonde man carry out his plans. The Duchess remembered that George had flirted with her at the opera house and said that he could trust his life to the brown-haired man. But at the same time, he had his eye on his wife. The girl could not understand what the Archduke was trying to achieve with her help. Scarlet assumed that the blonde wanted to deprive her husband of his status, or they had some personal scores to settle. The girl was distracted from her thoughts by furious screams. She distinguished Erica's voice. Running up to the scene of the commotion, the lady clarified what was happening here. Soon the Duchess saw her younger sister tearing out the blonde's hair. She asked Erica and Joshua what they were doing. The brunette assured that she intended to rip out all of this scoundrel's hair and throw her out of the house. Scarlet ordered the girls to calm down. The Duchess approached the blonde and asked if she was okay. The girl was crying and shaking all over. Our heroine noticed that the blonde was bleeding and ordered to call a doctor as soon as possible. Scarlet ordered the servants to take Joshua to her room. With tears in her eyes, the sister asked the Duchess why she cared about her. The brunette was sure that as the Duke's wife and the mistress of the estate, she should have despised the dirty harlot. Erica said that she was very happy that her sister became a duchess. The brunette said that she had no idea how jealous she felt. A little taken aback, Scarlet asked how her sister knew about Joshua. The girl realized that the brunette was sure that she lived happily and did not need anything. Erica said that while walking around the estate, she saw a beautiful girl standing apart from everyone. The brunette explained that the person did not look like a maid, and she asked who she was. The girl reported that Lady Moore had told her everything. The sister was furious that the blonde was running after the Duke and arrogantly ignoring everyone as if she was the mistress of the place. The brunette was furious that her sister was treating a commoner like a duchess. The girl was sure that her sister did not understand what she was doing. The Duchess stopped her little sister and asked her to follow her. Scarlet led her sister into the room and locked the door. The girl explained it to the brunette that everything was not as she had assumed. Erica said that she would not allow the guy's mistress to take him away from her sister. The brunette asked her sister not to pretend that everything was normal. The girl asked if her parents knew about this. The sister insisted that if the parents had known that the Duke would turn out to be such a person, they would never have allowed Scarlet Sire to marry him. The angry Duchess explained that her father knew everything. The girl said that he himself insisted on this wedding, since the Duke promised their father to provide his children with a wonderful future. Scarlet's face filled with tears. She said that this was why she was sold. The girl insisted that her father did it for the sake of Jonathan and his sister's future. The brunette asked her sister if her mother had found out about this. The girl said that if her mother had known about this, she would not have sent her daughter to this place. The student suggested telling the woman everything. The aristocrat said that it was pointless, because the woman herself would not be able to do anything. The Duchess guessed that the Baroness was not her biological mother. Scarlet gently stroked her sister's cheek and asked her not to worry and not to be angry with Joshua. The girl explained that the blonde was a victim just like her. Erica burst into tears and asked why her sister had said such a thing. The brunette couldn't understand why her father acted like that, and why her sister insisted that everything was fine. The Duchess calmly assured that everything was indeed fine and promised to handle everything. Scarlet knew she had to deal with her own problems so that no one else would suffer. The servants gathered in the hall and waited for the mistress to arrive. Madame Moore asked the Duchess what she wanted to tell her. Scarlett said that she was very disappointed in the woman. The girl explained that she had trusted Eric, and she had dared to tell the little girl about the personal affairs of the Huntington family. The Duchess was shocked that she had demonstrated her loyalty in such a way. Looking down, Madame Moore reported that the little girl was very persistent and kept asking her questions. The woman reported that she had no other choice. The aristocrat, breaking into a scream, asked what kind of stupid excuses she was making. Scarlett reminded her that she had her own head on her shoulders. The Duchess explained that the servants had no right to divulge information about the master's personal life to anyone and raise a fuss. The girl was amazed that she dared to call herself a manager. Scarlett said that as the mistress of the estate, she could not turn a blind eye to such things. The Duchess rudely threw down a bag of coins, saying that it was to cover the expenses of the hotel. The gold coins clinked and scattered across the floor. The girl asked the manager to leave the estate for a while and think about her behavior. Madame Moore was shocked that she was being banished from the estate. The woman recalled that she had spent her entire life there, caring for Samuel since he was a child. The manager said that Huntington Manor was her home. Scarlett said that she was deeply mistaken, and that the woman was just an ordinary governess. The girl said that Madame Moore would not return to the estate until she was allowed to do so. The Duchess ordered the maids to take the woman outside. Wriggling in the arms of the young girls, the woman said that the mistress could not do this to her. The manager begged the girl not to do it. Scarlett asked the butler how Joshua was feeling. The man reported that everything was fine, and she was not seriously hurt, but due to the shock, she refused to eat. The Duchess ordered her to be brought to the blonde's room. When she entered the room, she saw the blonde sitting on the bed, shaking all over. Scarlett tenderly pronounced the girl's name and asked for forgiveness. Our heroine sat down next to her and asked if everything was okay. The Duchess insisted that her sister had misunderstood something. Scarlett gently stroked the girl's shoulder, trying to calm her down. The blonde said that there was no need to apologize, because she thought exactly the same thing. Joshua said that she often heard this, being the daughter of an ordinary peasant. Continuing to cry, the girl said that she herself was perfectly aware of everything and asked not to pretend. The Duke's mistress was sure that her lover's wife didn't like her either. Joshua reminded her how she had set her up and made her look bad. The blonde said that everyone hated her except Samuel. She was sure that only he was on her side. Scarlett admitted that at first she really hated her husband's mistress. The Duchess admitted that she tried to destroy her for self-affirmation. The girl asked the blonde for forgiveness, and bowing, she said that she should not have acted in such a way towards her. Joshua asked to bring the young baroness, saying that she wanted to hear it from the little girl. The Duchess lowered her eyes and said that she would fulfill her request. Scarlett insisted that she must first punish the real culprit of this incident. The Duchess said that the younger sister believed Madame Moore's words. The hostess said that the woman used the brunette to offend her. Scarlett explained that they had both been deceived because the woman thought she could get away with it. The Duchess warned her husband's mistress that the woman would not leave her alone. The girl realized that Madame Moore was Samuel's governess, and that he treated her like a mother. Looking up, the blonde asked what the Duchess was going to do. The butler asked again if the girl was going to fire Madame Moore. Scarlett explained that the manager had done virtually nothing for the past few months. The Duchess insisted that she received the same salary as the butler, despite the fact that he was the busiest person on the estate. She asked if the butler thought it was fair. Scarlett explained that Madame Moore was her husband's governess and was almost like a second mother to him. The girl reminded that the Duke had long since grown up, and the woman had already fulfilled her role. The aristocrat noticed that the servant was abusing her position and letting slip secrets of the master's personal life. The girl recalled that the worker had told too much to her sister, who was a teenager and still lacked common sense. Scarlett asked whether it was okay to keep someone close to you who was unable to understand what was okay to say to a child and what was not. The Duchess was aware that Madame Moore cared for her husband as if he were her own son. Scarlett said that she had no intention of expelling her without showing due respect. That's why she asked to provide her with generous pension payments and to make sure that she got home safe and sound. The butler asked what the lady would say to Samuel. The girl assured him that she would report the incident to her husband herself. The embarrassed brunette asked for forgiveness. The Duchess asked the little girl to offer a sincere apology. Erica bowed sharply and asked to forgive her, because she was stupid in believing someone else's words and not understanding the situation. The girl assured that she had already realized her mistake. The blonde lowered her eyes and warned that next time she would tell Samuel everything. The guest promised not to do that again. Joshua informed her that she could go. The little girl went out the door, looking carefully at her opponent. The Duchess announced that she had fired Madame Moore, and she was fired and going home. The Duke's mistress couldn't believe that she would never see the impudent and arrogant servant again. The blonde shared that the woman constantly humiliated her, and it was unbearable. Joshua shared that when she broke any rule, Madame Moore would immediately complain to the master and she would be punished. The girl said that at those moments she wanted to fall through the ground. The blonde couldn't understand why the manager hated her. Joshua couldn't even guess what she had ever done wrong. The Duchess explained that the woman treated Samuel as her own child, and it was typical for a mother to hate all her son's lovers. Joshua got angry and reminded her that she was a maid, not the boy's mother. Looking at her rival with hope, the blonde asked if everything would be okay. The girl was afraid that Samuel might get angry at the Duchess. The blonde asked what would happen if the guy ordered Madame Moore to be returned. The captive reported that her lover always asked her to be obedient. Scarlett promised to take care of this. The girl was worried that he could order the Duchess's sister to be thrown out. Smiling, the girl asked if the blonde was worried about her little sister. Joshua anxiously asked if she looked crazy. The blonde explained that the little girl was the mistress's sister. The Duchess admitted that she was more worried about her husband's mistress, since even a 5-year-old could beat her up. The blonde recalled that the lady's sister fought like a bandit. The brown-haired man looked sternly at his wife and asked why she had fired Madame Moore. The guy was furious that she had dared to do this without even telling him. Sam said she had worked her whole life on the estate, long before he was born. The Duchess agreed the woman was a good governess. Scarlett said she had completely lost her mind. The girl explained that she had told her sister about the Duke and Joshua's relationship. The guy, noticeably nervous, asked how much the maid had spread about his life. Scarlett reported that the worker provoked the little girl into a fight, and Joshua was slightly hurt. The guy suddenly jumped up and asked his wife how his beloved could have suffered. The Duchess assured that the blonde had no serious injuries. The wife assured that she immediately called a doctor and reprimanded Erica. The aristocrat assured that it was Madame Moore who started all this. The girl said that this was unforgivable. Scarlett explained that if such a prank was allowed to go unpunished, the rest of the servants might start behaving inappropriately too. The Duke said that his wife was right and that it couldn't be left like that. The brown-haired man was amazed because Madame Moore had never said anything like that. The guy suggested that with age, she stopped being aware of her actions. Scarlett explained that she sincerely loved him and assured that she would live the rest of her life in the village in peace and quiet. The girl assured that the woman had allocated enough money as compensation. The Duchess hoped that the woman would realize all her mistakes. The aristocrat said that she shouldn't have left Erica unattended and asked for forgiveness. The girl said that now the younger sister knew about everything and offered to send her back to her family. Sam sighed heavily and said that he wanted to see his beloved and stood up abruptly. The Duke said that from now on, his wife would be responsible for all the servants. The guy told her that she shouldn't let rumors spread. Scarlett sighed with relief and left the room. At that moment, the butler met her. Lawrence handed over several heavy books and said that he had found them in Madame Moore's room. The man admitted that he did not know what to do with them. The lady asked what the contents of the writings were. The butler suggested that the writings were ancient books that had somehow survived. Lawrence admitted that he had initially wanted to throw them away, but decided to show them to his mistress first. The man explained that the Duke did not like to be disturbed while he was in Joshua's room. Lawrence said he wanted the aristocrat to see them first. The Duchess asked for the scriptures and promised to sort everything out herself. Nodding her head, the girl allowed the worker to get down to business. The man said that he would always be ready to serve Milady. After reading a few pages, Scarlett realized that the writing was indeed in excellent condition. She was glad that everything had ended well. Looking closely at the pages, the girl realized that the book was clearly more than a few decades old. Scarlett's hands were shaking as she clutched the cover, and her body was shaking slightly. The Duchess realized that, according to these records, the blonde had been taking herbs since she moved to the estate at the age of 6. The girl understood that those herbs restored her health, because when she moved to the mansion, the blonde felt very weak. Scarlett realized that when she started menstruating, the composition of the medicine changed, and all the herbs in it stimulated ovulation. The girl realized that the child of the Duke's mistress would become the heir, and did not understand why he was rushing things. Scarlett could not understand why such a rush was necessary. The blonde asked if Samuel had had relations with that girl. The Archduke assured that he had already managed to gain Lady Huntington's trust, and she had told him everything. George noticed that after learning about Joshua's existence, she could not come to terms with it and decided to get a divorce. The princess asked if I had changed Joshua yet. The blonde thought that everything was heading that way. The woman explained that everything would be complicated because the girl's father was the emperor himself. The events are transferred 2 decades ago. Frederick was always distinguished by a violent and rebellious nature, and he had an affair with Elizabeth, who was a close friend and maid of honor of the future empress. When the blonde became pregnant by the emperor, she left the palace citing illness. Unfortunately for her, the naive empress simply let Elizabeth go. After the Mauls ascended the throne, his wife had trouble getting pregnant for a long time, and Elizabeth decided to take advantage of this. The girl assured that next time she would give the gentleman an heir. The blonde asked to make her empress in that case. Frederick agreed to this condition and admitted that his future gray mouse wife irritated him greatly. Elizabeth's second pregnancy was not going so smoothly, which made her worry. The blonde handed over a small bottle and explained that the elixir contained special herbs and assured that they caused infertility. The girl assured that if her lover puts them in the empress's tea, she will definitely give birth to a son. The empress, not suspecting anything, became infertile. A few years later, the brunette learned the truth thanks to Princess Amaryllis. The woman cried because she considered Elizabeth her friend and could not understand when she could do this to her. "Get out of your seat!" The empress swore to kill the traitor. The blonde said that several years ago she swore to herself that she would strangle the emperor with her own hands. Amaryllis swore that if they united, they could fulfill their common desire and offered to help each other. The princess asked to bring her the emperor's blood and nails. The blonde explained that her magical ability was the ability to create poisons. The girl shared that when Frederick ascended the throne, she was over 18 years old, and therefore he could not deprive her of her powers. The blonde said that if he drinks the poison, he will slowly lose his mind and will be completely under her control. The princess said that her friend had promised to mix Frederick's formula with it, but in return, she had to do something. Amaryllis explained that all of Elizabeth's unborn children had to be killed. With a light movement of his hand, the brunette finished off the woman. The young count's cloak was stained with blood. The little girl stood over the woman's body and begged her to wake up. The Archduke began to slowly draw his sword from its sheath, but saw himself in the little girl's eyes. The knight suggested that the gentleman deal with the child himself. The blonde stopped the guy and gently stroked the baby's silky hair. Soon the girl lost consciousness. Louis, a little taken aback, asked why the gentleman had not carried out the order. George took the baby in his arms and said that the child was innocent. The guy explained that despite the fact that the girl was still very small, she was still a relative of the imperial family. The brunette said that she could not be allowed to survive. The Archduke said that because of her gender, she had no right to the throne. The guy raised his bloody hand and said that the baby could grow up and give birth to children, and they would be able to lay claim to the throne. The blonde asked not to worry about it and promised to give the girl the decoction that the empress drank right there and promised to sort it out. The guy said that if the gentleman wants to avoid possible consequences, he should kill her at that very moment. George suggested leaving the girl with the guy and asked him to take her to the estate and not let anyone see her. The blonde explained that they couldn't let anyone know about her origin. The count asked if the gentleman wanted him to settle the baby in his house. George promised to kill the emperor and take his place. The guy said that Samuel was the only one he could trust. The princess was taken aback when she learned that her brother had spared the life of the emperor's married child. The blonde reported that the baby was only 6 years old. The boy explained that Samuel would give her the same herbs that the empress had taken. The Archduke explained that after the baby became sterile, she would be married to an ordinary peasant. Amaryllis said that her brother's actions were too risky and ill-considered. The girl assumed that Samuel would love the baby and would not want to let her go. The boy explained that after his mother's death, his friend was the only one left to him. George assured him that he would trust the Duke with his life. The little girl burst into tears and said that she was very scared. The blonde covered her face with her hands and tried to hide from her mother's killer. The Duke assumed that the blonde had another terrible dream and said that there was nothing to worry about. Sam promised to protect her and assured her that there was nothing to be afraid of. Having handed over a mug of tea, the guy asked Joshua to drink a medicine that would help her. The brown-haired man assured her that if she drank it, she would grow up healthy and would no longer have nightmares. The Duke asked her to grow up quickly because Uncle Samuel loved her very much. Breaking into a scream, the boy explained that his friend had betrayed them and wanted to get the throne. George couldn't understand why his old friend had delayed the assassination attempt on him for 14 years. The blonde explained that he knew he would have a better claim to the throne. The boy realized that after Joshua's son ascended the throne, Samuel would rule the empire as regent. The blonde said that the Duke's heir would then become a full-fledged emperor. The Archduke realized that Samuel would kill anyone who stood in his way. The events moved to the Huntington estate. The girl was rushing from side to side, trying to understand what could be what she did not know. Scarlett realized that something was wrong with the Duke's relationship with Joshua. The girl assumed that this was why the blonde was trying to get so close to her. The Duchess was determined to find out what her husband was hiding. Scarlett knew that if she found out his secret, she could use this information against him. Events 14 years ago. The blonde asked why he couldn't kill the emperor now. His friend reminded him that he was only 15 years old and couldn't use his magic anymore. Shaitan explained that if he ascended to the throne at the same time, the lords would not be able to take him seriously, and as a result, chaos would begin in the state. Amaryllis warned the boys that the ones they should be most wary of were the lords of the imperial faction. The princess explained that driven by hatred for the boy, they could start a coup. Sam informed her ladyship that she had not spent much time in Kingsley's estate and did not know the capital very well. The boy informed her that the emperor, who had not been in the empire for long and did not possess magical powers, would be very easy to kill. The blonde reported that having lost his magical abilities, the brother also lost his power. The girl warned that without abilities he could easily fail. George lowered his eyes and reminded that the throne legally belonged to the eldest of the brothers. The guy had no intention of forgetting about the son of the Princess Duke Birkin. The blonde realized that if someone tried to deprive him of the right to the throne, then hell would reign in the country. The Duke announced that as a representative of the Lord's faction, he would turn the public against Frederick and ensure that the boy would be warmly received as the new emperor. Samuel announced that he intended to win the sympathy of the people before overthrowing the old ruler. The blonde asked how long it would take. Smiling, the Duke said it would take at least a decade. The guy explained that during this time, the emperor would have time to grow old, and everything could be attributed to natural death. Amaryllis supported him by saying that it would look more convincing than the sudden death of a young and healthy ruler. The princess said that he was in her power until he drank poison. The girl admitted that she was not as powerful as before. Kingsley wondered if they would suspect something was wrong if the emperor became as weak-willed as a rag doll. The blonde reported that it may seem strange that immediately after the wedding, their ruler's health began to deteriorate sharply. The princess reported that they needed help. Hot coffee was overturned on the table and dripped down in small drops. Foam slowly flowed out of the emperor's grate. The servant informed His Highness that his beloved had arrived. The brunette asked who he was talking about and assumed that he had forgotten her. Merlin sat down next to the emperor and hugged him tenderly. The princess supported what he said, that he could not look at any woman except Milady Tanquil. The blonde grinned and said that he loved the brunette. Merlin settled herself more comfortably on his lap and said that she loved him too. The blonde said that it would be strange if the emperor suddenly stopped paying attention to other ladies, because everyone knew how strong his relationship with the empress was. Amaryllis said that this should be sorted out. Wincing, the girl agreed with her partner's opinion, saying that she could not allow the emperor to meet with other women. 13 years have passed since the previous events. The guy asked how much longer they would have to wait. The blonde said that the entire aristocracy was mocking the current emperor. The Archduke reported that the people despised Frederick. The boy asked his friend how long they would delay this. The brown-haired man reminded him that his friend had not been in the capital for that long. George asked his friend not to make things up and reminded him that the nobles were on his side. The Princess Pomraknev told the Duke that they had been waiting for many years. Amaryllis asked the boy why he was making up all these ridiculous excuses. The Duke said that their plan was treason and explained that caution in this case would not hurt. The guy couldn't understand where his friends were rushing to because the power was so much in their hands. The princess asked Samuel not to make her suspect him. The Archduke explained that he had heard some rumors about his relationship with Joshua. The dark-eyed guy asked his lordship if he really thought he would dare touch a child. George said that the blonde was no longer a child, she was already 20 years old. Shaitan recalled that his friend himself asked him to hide the baby in his mansion. Samuel realized from the very beginning that ordinary people could misunderstand and did not understand how his friends could suspect him. The Archduke reported that everyone was only gossiping about his friend sleeping with that girl. The offended brown-haired man reported that he knew that he would not believe him. The blonde assumed that Joshua was seducing the guy. Sam couldn't understand how he could say something like that about him, because he couldn't kick her out of the mansion because of his orders. The Duke recalled that the guy himself asked to hide Joshua from other people's eyes, and because of this, people invented things that did not happen. The blonde asked if he had ever thought about something like that. Sam lost his temper and asked how he could doubt him. With a heavy sigh, the Archduke explained that he had never doubted his friend, but he had done everything to make them doubt him. And he asked the guy that if Joshua showed feelings for him, he needed to cool her ardor. Sam asked how he could do this, and suggested that he should use magic. The blonde asked his friend to marry him. The guy was sure that the girl was behaving sluttily only because there was no mistress in the estate. George explained that if he married another woman, Joshua would lose all interest in him. The princess recommended him to arrange his personal life. Amaryllis asked the brown-haired man if it was time for him to get married. The embarrassed guy agreed that he was right, and his estate needed a mistress. After the wedding of the Duke of Huntington, the blonde asked the knight to watch the guy his bride. George asked him to find out what kind of relationship there was between the couple. The Archduke explained that if Sam had a mistress, it would be noticeable by his behavior. The events moved to the present time in the imperial palace. The blonde reported that quite a lot of time had passed since then, and his fears were confirmed. The princess asked if the girl they had spared was pregnant. Amaryllis explained that if Samuel had fallen in love with her, it did not mean that he had betrayed the boy. The woman recalled that the brown-haired man enjoyed great respect in high society and doubted that he could have acted so thoughtlessly. The princess explained that Huntington had lived in the Kingsley and Birkin estates longer than they had. Amaryllis noted that the guy's influence in the capital had also increased. The woman said that first they needed to make sure that Joshua had taken the herbs that caused infertility. The blonde suggested that after the situation was clarified, they would deal with the traitor. George supported his sister by saying that first they needed to find out whether Joshua was sterile. The guy said that he would try to take advantage of Scarlett's trust. The princess said that for such a plan to be implemented, the Duke must be away from his wife. The woman suggested distracting Sam's attention. Bright rays of the sun hit the blonde's eyes. The girl happily jumped out of bed, rubbing her eyes. The blonde no longer saw Scarlett as a rival. The Duchess asked if her husband had left. The guy's mistress reported that he had left the estate not so long ago. Having opened the lid, the blonde realized that her lover had left her this junk again. The blonde did not want to drink the bitter herbal infusion. Sem, in order to raise the mood of his beloved, left a small note on the tray. Sharply knocking the cup out of Joshua's hands, the Duchess asked if she knew what this medicine was. The blonde said that this remedy would help her give birth to a healthy child. Scarlett asked why she wanted to get pregnant from a guy. Smiling, Joshua explained that she was madly in love with the brunette. The girl could not understand what was wrong with wanting a child from her lover. The Duchess clarifies whether the girl really wanted a child from Samuel. The blonde assured that her lover wanted it too. The girl assured that it would be a great happiness for anyone to give birth to a child from a beloved man. Scarlett asked what would happen if the baby was taken away from the blonde. The mistress lowered her eyes and said that she could not do anything about it, since she was an ordinary orphan. The Duchess recalled that just a moment ago, she had said that this would be the greatest happiness for her. The girl asked her mistress what would happen when she gave birth to a child who would have a ducal title. The commoner naively assumed that she would become the mother of a duke. Scarlett explained that if it were found out why the young duke had non-aristocratic blood, the child's life would be in danger. The girl asked if he would acknowledge Joshua as his mother. The Duchess explained that if she had a daughter, the baby would not be able to become an heir. Scarlett explained that if Samuel secretly allows his beloved to raise their daughter, the aristocrat said that if the groundhog wants to sleep with her and she gives birth to a son, the Duchess suggested that her husband might want to make him his heir. The blonde dropped the cup and said that this would not happen and she would not be able to get pregnant. The hot drink quickly spread across the floor. The shards flew several meters away. Joshua assured that her lover had given the girl herbs for infertility. The Duchess turned very pale and asked again what she meant. The mistress explained that her lover had brought them yesterday and ordered the doctor to brew an elixir from them. The aristocrat was horrified that the prescribed medicine turned out to be an elixir of infertility. Scarlett covered her mouth with her hand to hold back her scream. The blonde asked her rival not to try to get between them. The girl was furious that she dared to get between her and her lover. Joshua ordered the Duchess not to speak ill of Sam. The Duchess rose calmly from her bed, saying that she could believe him if it made her feel any better. Scarlett asked the girl to think about her future. The girl explained that Madame Amour hated her because she dared to become an aristocrat's mistress. The Duchess reminded that the girl's lover had told her to only obey the woman instead of protecting her. The girl was amazed that she could call it love. Scarlett said that if he really loved Joshua, he would raise her as his daughter. The aristocrat said that the blonde could marry a worthy man. She was sure that every adult sensible person would do so. Scarlett explained that the blonde could have married a good man and lived a normal life, and could have walked down the streets of the city with a family that loved her. The girl reminded that Sam locked her in this house where everyone hated her. The Duchess was sure that the brown-haired man wanted his mistress to bear him children who would not even be able to call her mother. The aristocrat rose from her bed and said that she could continue to live in an illusion and believe what Sam said. The girl asked Joshua to just think about her words. Scarlett was sure that when the blonde had a child, she would understand this herself. But then she would no longer be able to leave the estate. The girl carefully combed her hair, trying to distract herself from bad thoughts. Entering the room, the brunette said that the mistress had brought the medicine that the doctor had prescribed. The maid advised the girl to drink it while the contents were still warm. Scarlett coldly asked to leave the medicine on the table and to leave her alone. The girl turned away and left the room. The brown-haired man noticed that his beloved had broken a cup and asked her to be careful. Sam handed her a new cup with the contents and recommended drinking it while it was still hot. The guy thoughtfully offered the blonde to buy more dolls. The aristocrat said that it was time for him to go and wished the girl good night. When the door slammed, the blonde quickly ran to the sink and poured out the contents of the cup. Scarlett was furious that her husband was trying to pass off the infertility herbs as a healing potion. She couldn't understand what was on her husband's mind. Having poured the contents into the sink, the Duchess realized that her husband really did not want children from her and wanted to make Joshua's child his heir. The aristocrat looked sadly at her reflection. She realized that Sam was obsessed with Joshua, but the reason was different. The Duchess wanted to find out what her husband was planning. The girl stood in a mask as the hall was filled with light live music. Scarlett could only look with envy at the couples who passionately kissed and twirled in dances. The Duchess decided to go to the restroom because she had nothing to do in such a place. Someone came up and hugged her around the waist from behind. The blonde noticed that the earrings he had given her suited her very well. George suggested that the girl go to the restroom together. The Archduke told his beloved that he knew of a secluded place. Scarlett wondered whether she should tell the guy that her husband had been drugging her and Joshua. The door slowly closed, plunging the small room into semi-darkness. George hung over the girl and tried to touch her tender lips. The Duchess asked the blonde to stop. The guy asked why she didn't like masks so much. He removed the party props from his face. Scarlett closed her eyes and explained that she had something to tell him. She recalled that the Archduke had asked to inform him if Samuel's mistress became pregnant. The boy anxiously asked if this had happened. The aristocrat explained that this could happen soon. Scarlett reported that her husband gave his mistress a decoction of herbs that stimulated ovulation. The Duchess reported that her husband began doing this since the blonde began menstruating. The guy's face quickly turned pale, and his eyes showed despair. He asked his girlfriend to repeat what she had said. She suggested that Joshua had been in very poor health as a child, so his periods began quite late and only after taking all sorts of medications. The Duchess reported that Samuel had begun to give her potions that increased fertility. The girl assumed that her husband wanted her to become pregnant as soon as possible. The aristocrat noticed how her companion's face darkened, as if he wanted to kill someone. The blonde wiped his face with his hand, trying to hide his emotions. George called his former friend a complete bastard. She reported with some excitement that this was not all. Scarlett reported that her husband tried to make her sterile by slipping her some nasty stuff under the guise of healthy food supplements. Pressing her against the wall, the blonde asked if she had drunk the drink. The girl said that she had poured it all down the sink while no one was in her room. Scarlett assured that she had no intention of drinking it. Pressing the girl tightly to himself, the blonde said something like "smart girl" and rejoiced that everything worked out. The Archduke admitted that his heart nearly stopped when he heard this. Scarlett couldn't understand why he was so worried about it, as if he cared about her. The girl encouraged herself, realizing that a little later this would play into her hands. The Duchess decided to get a little closer to him. She told George that she was scared because he was the only one she could trust. The blonde thanked her for her honesty and kissed her passionately, pressing her against the wall. Soon the guy pressed her to the floor and continued passionate kisses. The girl inadvertently remembered that kiss in the garden with Louis, and after a few moments pushed the Duke away. Scarlett suggested that if his rival became pregnant, he was going to use it as evidence of his infidelity. She recalled that George himself said that there was no better reason for divorce than having an illegitimate child. The blonde assured that this was the absolute truth. The girl said that she didn't want the blonde to get pregnant, but for her to run away and become free before that happened. The Archduke asked why his beloved was worried about that girl. The Duchess said that she was a victim just like her. She explained that she hated her husband because he treated her like a thing that he could do with as he pleased. She said that Joshua was another such toy, and she wanted the blonde to meet someone who would truly love her and give a child to a worthy person of her own free will. Scarlett said that she just wanted to help the girl and so that the Duke's child would not become a burden for her. The blonde admitted that the more he got to know her, the more convinced he became that she was a special woman. Smiling, the Duchess clarified what kind of special woman she was and suggested that her specialty was that she was not so easy to break, unlike the others. Scarlett asked what was unusual about her sober view of the world. The girl asked if he wanted to flatter her by elevating her above other females. Scarlett reported that every day she saw girls who were deprived of the opportunity to study and choose their own path. She supposed it was great to be a man and enjoy her advantageous position in society. Putting on her mask, the Duchess headed for the exit. The Duchess reminded him that George was just as arrogant and self-confident. The girl said that she was not in the mood to spend time with such a person and wished him good night. Laughing, the blonde assumed that he had messed everything up again. Kneeling down, the guy asked for forgiveness for his horrible, arrogant behavior. George asked if he deserved to be punished for this. The embarrassed blonde gently removed her black glove with his teeth. He assumed that if the girl hit him with her hand, she would be able to knock him down a peg. Scarlett assumed that the Archduke liked it when she was cold and unapproachable. The girl explained that if he wanted this punishment, then it would already be a reward. The Duchess realized that she should be more careful with the guy and suggested returning to the banquet. Scarlett said it would be unfair to the other couples to just occupy the room. She walked quickly towards the exit and opened the door. The girl bumped into Louis and was not at a loss for words. She realized what had happened in the break room, and after a few moments, she covered her face with her hand. Scarlett hoped that her lipstick had not smudged. The brunette approached her, gently touched her chin, and turned to my lady. The Archduke presumptuously asked the girl not to say that she was going to enjoy the masquerade with another gentleman. The girl asked if it was forbidden to spend time at the ball with several men. Smiling, George suggested that it would be better to choose the most worthy of the candidates. The blonde admitted that he did not want his beloved to belong to someone else. Scarlett explained that she had the right to decide this herself and glanced at the knight. As he watched the Duchess leave, the young man realized that she knew how to disappoint. When the girl disappeared from sight, the Archduke announced that he had fallen in love with her. George didn't even suspect that she was his type. The blonde reported that the Duchess was intriguing him more and more. Soon, the girl entered the hall, filled with light music. Scarlett's face showed a barely perceptible sadness. The man touched her shoulder and asked if he could invite her to dance, explaining that such a beautiful lady could not stand alone. Smiling, the Duchess said that she was waiting for someone and quickly left. Looking into the distance of the room, the Duchess hoped that her lover would come. She realized that the masquerade was the only event where one could forget about titles and reputation and simply give in to feelings. Someone suddenly grabbed the girl by the shoulder and pressed her tightly against the wall. Scarlett hoped that the brunette had come to have a great time with her on this wonderful holiday. The man looked at her with a grin and hugged her tightly. The aristocrat didn't like that she first shot him glances and then ran away. His hands began to move lower, touching her waist and legs. The Duchess hit the impudent fellow with fury. The brown-haired man was furious that he got such an obstinate partner. The man threw her over his shoulder and headed towards the restroom. The skinny girl was beating him with her hands and feet and begging him to let her go. Realizing that her actions were useless, the girl began to call for help. A few moments later, she saw her husband and hoped that he would help her. Samuel glanced at his wife with pleasure and continued to hug the other girl. The pervert grinned and said that it was male solidarity. Scarlett knew she couldn't allow that. She grabbed the door frame with all her might. The man asked her to continue, explaining that he loved it when girls resisted. The aristocrat threw her roughly onto the floor of the restroom. The Duchess's entire body began to tremble violently from pain and fear. The aristocrat said that this was why he loved such an event, because he could do anything he wanted. The door slowly closed, and with the dim rays of light, Scarlett's hope also faded. A small hand squeezed through the crack in the door, and the savior hit the man with fury, knocking off his mask. The brunette looked at his beloved's offender with ragged breathing and contempt. The man asked what the brunette was doing. Fear was visible on the baron's face, and his cheek was swollen from the powerful blow. Louis reminded the pervert that he had been divorced 3 times because of his terrible treatment of women. The brunette suggested calling witnesses to confirm his words in the presence of the guards. Grabbing his mask, the baron quickly left the scene. Having closed the door, the knight asked his beloved if everything was okay. Scarlett's whole body was shaking, and her breathing was heavy and ragged. Louis carefully helped his beloved to get up from the floor and led her to a soft sofa. Having removed the mask from her face, the brunette saw hot tears that were slowly rolling down the cheeks of the victim. The guy gently hugged the Duchess, assuming that he should have arrived much earlier, and asked for forgiveness. Louis pressed her body, trembling from stress, tightly to himself. She was sure that the savior would not appear. The guy reminded her that she had called him for help. He hugged her even tighter, saying that he was already nearby. Scarlett took a small brooch from his chest and kissed him passionately. The Duchess, very embarrassed, noticed that the brunette was very strange, because he entered and came only when she ordered. The Duchess reported that when she prayed for help, he came immediately. She reported that she no longer wanted to believe in love, but he made her doubt. The girl quickly began to take off her luxurious dress. Scarlett suggested that they could try again. The brunette lowered his eyes and said that he had to confess something to her. The guy said that he had helped her for a reason that day and had simply acted on orders. The knight explained that he had been ordered to approach her and find out what her relationship was with Samuel Huntington. The brunette admitted that it was his master's will, and when she injured her leg and left the banquet, he followed her on purpose. Louis noticed at that moment that the Countess avoided people from this. He understood that not everything was so smooth with her husband. The brunette admitted that he reported this to the gentleman. The brunette reported that this was the reason George tried to win her favor. The knight believed that the Archduke knew that their marriage was built on a lie. The girl's hands trembled, and she asked again, "Did George know about everything?" Louis said that he did not tell the gentleman everything, not that what happened between them happened on his personal initiative. The Duchess asked why he was doing this and suggested that he felt sorry for her or that he simply decided to have some fun. Sharply hitting his hand, Scarlett said that of course she was a stupid girl who was ready to give him her body and soul. The Duchess assumed that he was amused by her confused look. The girl told him that he had nothing to be ashamed of because she had also used him for her own purposes. The aristocrat admitted that she did not want to give her first time to a man like Samuel. She assured that he had come her way very conveniently, and if it were someone else in his place, she would choose him. Scarlett assured that if it were the Archduke, she would only be glad, because in that case her husband would be furious. The girl coldly thanked the knight for telling her the truth and promised not to harbor vain hopes anymore. The guy jumped up from the floor and said his beloved's name. The aristocrat asked if the gentleman knew that Louis called her by name. The Duchess assumed that he had been taking care of her all this time, only because the blonde had wished it. Falling to his knees, Louis assured her that it was not like that at all. Scarlett grinned and assumed that the brunette was simply sympathizing with her or wanted to touch her body again. She dared to suggest that she was never actually attracted to him. The Duchess was sure that the guy was a young man with a cute face and a beautiful body who was just an errand boy. The girl did not hesitate to compare him to a candy eaten out of boredom. The brunette gently took her hand and asked her to continue using him for her own purposes. Louis took off his jacket with a slight movement of his hand, revealing a luxurious torso covered in many scars. The brunette explained that if there is someone in the world who wants to boss her around, then there must also be someone who wants to become a toy. Smiling, the knight asked his beloved to show him all the passion that had been accumulating in her heart for many months. The guy, noticing the confusion on her face, said that this event was a great place to find a lover. Louis advised his beloved to have fun just like the ladies of the capital. The brunette assured that he would come when she ordered and leave when she wished. The knight assured that he would wait until she needed him. The guy said that if the lady was disgusted by the idea of love, then he was ready to become her toy. Andy explained that she could use him and then throw him away when she got bored. The brunette assured that he would do everything so that she could relax for a while. Scarlett remembered how he carefully removed that heavy necklace so that she could rest for at least a short time. The embarrassed Duchess asked him if he wanted to be her dog. The guy said he was ready to fulfill any of her wishes. The lady quickly walked towards the luxurious sofa and asked the brunette to prove it. The Duchess ordered him to kiss her feet that very moment. She assumed that the boy's pride would not allow him to do so. A few moments later, the knight crawled up to her and began to carry out the order. The brunette asked the lady what she wanted next. A little confused, she asked if he had lost his dignity. The knight calmly assured that everything depended only on her. If she ordered, he would protect his honor, but at her request, he was ready to forget about everything. Louis would report that he was waiting for her further instructions. Scarlett asked if he would undress if she ordered. The aristocrat's face showed confusion. The brunette asked if she really wanted him to undress completely. The slightly hesitant Duchess gave an affirmative answer. With a slight movement of his hand, he unfastened his belt and soon took off all the rest of his clothes. The mistress, very embarrassed, ordered him to come as close as possible. The knight gently picked her up in his arms, looking into her deep sky-blue eyes. The girl ordered him to kiss her. The brunette put her on a small sofa, hovered over her, and gave her passionate kisses. The girl said that from that moment on, he could do whatever he wanted. Soon the lounge room was filled with the smell of love and moans of pleasure. The mask fell to the floor with a clang, but the couple did not care at all. After completing this act, Scarlett lay down on the brunette's massive chest and almost fell asleep. A little embarrassed, the Duchess assumed that he had sent that beautiful ring for her. Louis explained that he thought his beloved really liked the jewelry. The girl asked if he had always been so silent and would not even brag about his gift. The knight admitted that he had no other women before her. Scarlett asked if she was also his first. The guy said that it was his first time that night. Louis was sure that if there had been a more experienced person in his place, she wouldn't have had to cry so much. The Duchess asked if she really looked so terrible, and that was the reason why he was so sensitive to her. Louis hesitated a little, not knowing what to answer correctly. The brunette asked if she wanted to hear something that would calm her down, or for him to be sincere with her. The guy carefully threw his jacket over his beloved's shoulders so that she wouldn't freeze. Scarlett knew that if she didn't stop, it would be too late. But she couldn't understand the reason for her doubts. Turning away, the Duchess said that she did not expect a serious answer and thanked him for that day. The girl slowly began to take off his cape, but the brunette came up from behind and pressed her tightly to himself. The brunette said that at that moment, it seemed to him that the refusal would break her heart into many pieces. Louis noted that his beloved repeated the fate of his mother. Scarlett remembered with pain in her heart that sad story of how a woman, unable to bear the shame, committed suicide. At that moment, Louis tried to bring his mother to her senses by showing her little sister's drawing and said that they had brought her favorite candy. Turning away, the brunette thanked her son for his concern and said that she was just a little tired. The mother asked her kids to play temporarily in another room. The guy tried all sorts of methods in the hope that the person closest to him would soon be able to smile again. The husband yelled at the woman, asking how long this would continue, since she was indifferent to everything. The brunette said that it was her own fault because she went out inappropriately. The husband assured that if she had dressed more modestly, nothing would have happened. The woman, shaking all over, turned away and ran out of the room. Louis tried to stop her, but the mother ran into the room and rudely slammed the door, leaving the baby all alone. The brunette begged her not to cry, saying that he was still next to her. The son suggested that they go for a walk and said that his younger sister wanted to go to the lake with her. At one point, the guy heard a sound of falling, which caused his body to tremble slightly. The brunette turned to his mother in a hysterical voice and opened the door. When the boy entered the room, he saw an empty balcony and his mother's luxurious dress. Soon the servants' cries and requests to call a doctor as soon as possible were heard downstairs. Soon a panicked voice reported that the woman was no longer breathing. The boy watched what was happening with pain in his eyes. The knight admitted that after that incident, he thought many times about whether he could have saved the woman who was facing male cruelty. Holding Scarlett tightly to himself, the brunette admitted that he still hadn't found an answer. Louis admitted that his decision to help the girl that day seemed right to him. He explained that he didn't want his beloved to fall into the abyss of despair, and because of that, he tried to protect her. The brunette explained that he wanted to watch the girl fight again and again. The guy said that he was proud that despite all the difficulties in life, she still goes to her goals, making her way through the thorns. Louis hoped that he could at least slightly reduce her suffering. The brunette said that she could call him at any moment if she suddenly felt hard, even if he had to become her toy. The knight said that for him, she was the most important, thus, so that she would find all the strength to live another day. He said that he would gladly do whatever she ordered. The Duchess silently kissed her assistant passionately. The blonde walked along the long corridors and realized that the night was quite late. George realized that it didn't look like the brunette at all and assumed that he was lost in the endless labyrinth of long corridors. Looking through the half-open door, he asked what they had been doing while he was gone. Marilyn, embarrassed, asked the Archduke if he was behind the mask. The blonde said that he did not know that they had an affair. The brunette explained that anything could happen at a masquerade ball. A little taken aback, George said that they were right and anything could happen at such celebrations. The guy patted the Duke on the shoulder, saying that he needed to talk to him. Smiling, the woman said that she sincerely hoped to see the brown-haired man again. Sam, very embarrassed, followed his mistress with his eyes. The blonde asked his friend if he was allowing himself too much, since he had only recently married, but was already looking at Lady Tankville. The Duke asked what kind of man would be spending time with his wife at the masquerade ball. The brown-haired man suggested that his wife could be spending time with someone else. Sam said that he was interested in the brunette, and they just wanted to have a little fun. The guy assumed that she was bored of looking after the old emperor, and that she also needed to relax sometimes. He justified himself by saying that people should help each other. Sam asked, since when his friend had judged him for something like that. The blonde said that his friend was right, and that they had a different relationship. The guy asked if he remembered the time they spent in Kingsley. George recalled that at that time, he could not see his sister, and there was no one nearby whom he could confide. The Archduke assured him that he valued him more than his own life as a brother. The brown-haired man became wary and asked why he suddenly decided to remember the epic. Putting a mask on his face, the guy noticed that he had become too sentimental and assured him that he would always be on his side until his ascension to the throne. The brunette reminded that he would always be there to support his friend. George remembered the words of his beloved and realized that his former friend had decided to stand in his way. The Archduke, many years ago, when he entrusted Joshua to him, realizing that he trusted his friend too much and that he had since come up with everything. The guy was sure that Sam decided to take advantage of his kindness to sit on the throne. While the Archduke drove away any doubts and suspicions, the brown-haired man dreamed of killing him and taking his place. George realized that for this, the brown-haired man was ready to destroy the life of an innocent girl. The guy calmly suggested ending this evening of memories and returning to the hall. Sam grinned and suggested that the blonde seduce the fair sex. The blonde put on his mask and reminded his friend that he had recently gotten married. The Duke laughed and said that bachelor life had its charms. George put his hand on his friend's shoulder and asked permission to give him advice. The guy advised Sam to be careful with women. The Archduke promised, looking at him. He thinks that one day one of the ladies will stab him in the back. Laughing, the brown-haired man asked his friend if he was worried about him. Smiling, the guy said that he was waiting for this to happen so he could watch this spectacle. The slightly confused brown-haired man was struck by such jokes. George Pomraknev said that these were not jokes at all. When the Duke left, the blond man saw him off with a look of hatred. Throwing on his clothes, the knight announced that it was time for him to leave. Louis said that if they left the restroom together, they could attract unnecessary attention. The brunette asked his beloved to wait a little in this place before going out. Putting a mask on his face and adjusting his shirt, the guy left the room, looking around. Soon he noticed his master and approached him. The Archduke said that it was time for them to return, as he still needed to chat with his sister. George assured him that his days were numbered if he continued to act in the same spirit. The blonde explained that he was talking about Samuel Huntington. The guy asked the knight to find out through Scarlet whether the brown-haired man had really betrayed him. George sympathized with the Duchess because she was very unlucky with her husband. For a few moments, a deathly silence hung in the long corridors. Smiling, the Archduke said that he wanted to finish off his old friend without wasting a moment. The blonde admitted that he was grateful that he had never touched Scarlet. The guy assumed that the knight would find it funny that he was worried about such things. He admitted that he had not been himself lately. The Archduke assured him that if he did something to the girl, he would not be able to restrain himself. George said that the very thought of it made him want to cut off Sam's hands. Noticing Louis's gloomy expression, the guy assumed that he had no idea that he liked such girls. The blonde said that he himself did not expect to be such a possessive person. The aristocrats looked with pleasure at the exquisite outfits. The shelves contained many exquisite perfumes. Scarlet said that the next ball would be her little sister's debut in high society. The Duchess said that Erica needed to find a suitable dress for it. The girl, looking down, barely listened to her older sister's words. Noticing the baby's anxiety, she asked what was wrong. The Baroness looked down and said that she simply wanted to apologize to her. The Duchess looked at her younger sister in surprise and asked what she wanted to apologize for. Erica was ashamed that while she was suffering at the Duke's estate, she was having fun. The girl realized that the brunette had been sad ever since she had argued with Joshua. Scarlet took her younger sister by the hand and assured her that everything was fine and that she should think about her own future. The Duchess reminded that now the younger sister knew that her father also could not be trusted, and that she could not mindlessly obey his demands by following orders. The older sister asked the brunette to develop critical thinking and evaluate the situation independently. Scarlet reminded how naive she was when she married the man her parents chose for her. The Duchess asked her never to repeat her mistakes. Erica thanked her sister and asked for forgiveness again. The girl said that no matter what happened, she could always turn to her for help. With tears in her eyes, the brunette thanked her, saying that she could always count on her. Scarlet assured that if she liked someone at the ball, she could turn to her. The Baroness asked if her older sister liked anyone. The girl recalled that in the capital, even married men allowed themselves to go on dates. The Duchess again remembered those nights she spent with the brunette and looked at the luxurious ring he gave her. The girl's face flushed bright red. Scarlet reminded herself that she would definitely get a divorce, and with George's help, she would soon achieve her freedom. She longed to go her own way without being tied down by marriage. The Duchess never wanted to marry again, but she didn't want to be alone either. Erica turned to the girl, tearing her out of her dreams. The Duchess was very embarrassed, as if the little girl could read her thoughts. Pointing her finger at the shelf, the brunette said that the dress was very beautiful and asked if she could try it on. Smiling, Scarlet assured her that she could try on whatever she liked. She looked at the dress that was behind the shelf, and the Duchess was amazed by the maturity and elegance of the outfit. The Duchess stopped the brunette, saying a strict and stubborn no. The Baroness was very confused, but I remember that she already had quite a lot of dresses. The girl sternly informed that it was not suitable for Erica's age. She explained that she still needed to grow up a little to wear it. The brunette pointed her finger at the modest pink dress and asked if her older sister liked it. Having received approval, the Baroness said that she wanted to try it on. Bowing, the man asked the lady to go to the fitting room. Left alone, Scarlet began to listen to the conversations of socialite ladies. The girls openly discussed Louis, who was also unmarried, like the Archduke himself. The aristocrat assured her friend that Louis's family was trying to find him a bride. The embarrassed blonde assured him that he was a real handsome man and suggested that the girls were running around in crowds. Scarlett's face quickly turned pale, and her heartbeat echoed in her ears. The Duchess reminded herself that the boy was over 20 years old and still single. She reassured herself that the brunette was not eager to tie the knot with some girl. She noticed the painfully familiar raven-colored hair. The knight was kneeling before a pretty girl in a beautiful sky-blue dress. Louis carefully tied her shoes so that she could walk comfortably. Scarlett again remembered that night when her lover kissed her feet. Soon the girl stood up and took the brunette by the arm. The Duchess was tightly clutching the hand on which was worn the beautiful ring he had given her. The brunette quickly noticed the presence of Milady and turned to her. Scarlett's face turned crimson, and she was speechless. The Archduke assured his sister that he was sure that Samuel had betrayed them. The blonde said that they needed to hurry and finish off Frederick before Joshua got pregnant. The princess asked whether the brown-haired man would renounce the throne if the current emperor died. Amaryllis reminded that he had been gathering influential aristocrats around himself for over a decade. The woman was sure that after the death of the emperor, he would convince them to amend the constitution, abolishing the rules according to which only men could inherit the throne. The blonde was sure that the duke would ensure that the throne would be inherited by the closest blood relative, regardless of gender. She was afraid that in such a case, all the power would go to Joshua. George asked whether in such a case the throne should not go to his sister. The woman said that the nobles were on Samuel's side, and if he proposed Joshua's candidacy, he would receive support from the aristocrats. Amaryllis said they needed to buy themselves some more time. The princess said they needed to turn the aristocracy against the duke before Joshua had a baby. George suggested making it so that she could not become pregnant, just as the empress had done more than a decade earlier. The Archduke suggested making Joshua sterile. The brunette greeted Lady Huntington. Scarlett asked if she had interrupted his date. Her face showed confusion mixed with sadness. The knight assured that this was not what the Duchess thought. The guy introduced his younger sister, Amélie Louise, and said that he showed her the capital. Smiling, the brunette assured him that she was incredibly happy to meet him. Louis noticed that the Duchess was still wearing the ring he had given her. She said that it was very nice to meet Amélie. Running out of the fitting room, the brunette turned to her sister, trying to attract attention. Erica asked her older sister who these people were. The Duchess introduced her younger sister to Louis. The Baroness bowed politely and greeted her new acquaintances. Smiling, Amélie told Miss Chandler that she was extremely happy to meet her. The girl said that she was also very pleased to meet her and noted that she looked very much like her brother. The knight noticed that the girls were quite different from each other. The guy realized that, even at the wedding, he noticed that Scarlett was not at all like any of her relatives. The brunette said that her sister took after her maternal grandmother. The girl explained that she had the same fiery red hair and suggested that she was simply a beauty in her youth. Louis realized that he had seen a portrait of their grandmother in the Imperial Gallery. The boy realized that the woman did not have red hair. The horses trotted in time along the cobblestones, heading towards the Duke's estate. Erica clutched the box tightly in her hands and dreamed of her entry into high society. The Duchess could not understand what emotions were raging in her heart. The girl realized that the thought that Edmund had another woman for a moment angered her and caused unbearable pain. Scarlett reminded that she had an affair with George, not with that one. All the warm memories associated with the brunette rushed through her head. The Duchess's face instantly turned red, and she glanced at the scenery that was quickly passing by outside the window. The brunette asked her sister what had happened. The girl said that there was nothing serious. She just felt hot. The Duchess reminded that despite the fact that they are not in a relationship, she may have a chance to be with her lover one day and be free. Amaryllis explained that the Empress drank this medicine, after which she became sterile. The blonde explained that the decanter contained a special mixture of herbal decoction and wine. The woman said that her poison would increase the potency of the brew. She assured that if Joshua drank even one sip, he would never be able to have children again. The princess didn't know how to slip this potion to the girl. Smiling, George suggested that Scarlett would help them bring the plan to life. Looking down, the woman noticed that the Duchess was taking care of her husband's mistress. Amaryllis asked if her brother was going to entrust the girl with this mission. The blonde said that it was not necessary to tell everything to the Duchess. The woman asked if he was going to deceive Milady. The guy explained that all Scarlet needed was a divorce from Samuel and a guarantee of her own safety. The Archduke was sure that if they started a coup d'etat, the girl would try to stop them. The blonde said that he did not intend to scare Scarlet with something like that. The guy said what he was going to say, and that this was a necessary step on the path to freedom. He was sure that it wasn't even a lie. The princess asked, "Why would a brother ruin the Duke's marriage?" The guy said that his ex-boyfriend tried to make the girl infertile. George stopped seeing the brown-haired man as an archduke, and he became a traitor in his eyes. The Archduke was sure that Samuel was going to put Joshua's child on the throne and become regent. The blonde dared to suggest that the Duke did not need other offspring. He was sure that Sam wanted to deprive Lady Huntington of the opportunity to have children in order to win Joshua's trust. George said that he wanted to save the girl before it was too late, and said that they would have to do it anyway. The guy explained that he wanted to help Scarlet gain independence and enlist her support. Amaryllis said that she would soon meet with the Duchess, as they would need to discuss her son's upcoming wedding. The blonde promised to contact his sister a little later. The woman said that he had to win Lady Huntington over to his side. The princess warned her brother that if she turned away from him, all would be lost. The Archduke asked his sister not to worry, assuring her that he had almost won her heart. Amaryllis warned that her brother was playing with fire, because if Scarlet knew that she was being used, he would be in trouble. George asked why he suddenly used her. After all, his sister had missed the possibility that he could truly love. The blonde said that for this reason, he wanted to help the Duchess even more. The princess said that the girl was not one of those who would rush into the abyss of feelings, losing their head. The Archduke said that the girl needed help to divorce Samuel. The guy realized that Scarlet was a very calculating person who would never choose a man who could not give her what she wanted. The princess reported that Scarlet's father was an ordinary merchant who was not famous for his wealth. The woman asked her brother to be careful because Scarlet was supposed to be the key to fulfilling their plans. The knights, entering the Imperial Gallery, realized that Betty Mudd was a brunette. The guy realized that Scarlet was not at all like her grandmother. The master ordered Louis to find out as much as possible and informed him that nothing should be missed. Events quickly move it to the guild. Not long ago, Puccini contacted the lady. Scarlet hoped to finally find out who her real parents were. Bowing, the brown-haired man said that the Duchess was expected inside. Entering the room, the girl noticed that they had not seen Benjamin for a long time. The Duchess asked if he had read the letter she had sent. The girl recalled that when she was studying trade, she once discovered several inconsistencies in accounting reports. She said that as a child, she believed that something was a mistake, but recently she remembered the incident and asked for a reinvestigation. Scarlet reported that evidence of theft had been obtained during the investigation. The man jumped up from his seat and said that it had happened quite a long time ago. Benjamin asked why she had suddenly decided to take up the matter after so many years. The Duchess rudely threw the bag of jewels on the table. The girl assured that if he revealed the whole truth to her, this information would not reach her father. She promised to forget about it forever. Cold sweat appeared on the man's face, and he asked what she wanted to know. Placing her hand on her chest, Scarlet asked whose daughter she was by origin. The butler said that when Mr. Tanju went to trade salt, he started an affair with a local woman. The man explained that after returning to Florence, the Baron got married, after which Jonathan and Erica were born. Benjamin reported that soon after Erica's birth, a mysterious old woman with a baby with fiery red hair showed up at the estate. In the blue eyes, she read trust with him, and Scarlet asked again if it was she. The butler reported that Tanju recognized her as his daughter and gave her the surname Chandler. A little confused, Scarlet asked the man to explain who her real mother was and what happened to her. The man said that her biological mother died in childbirth. Benjamin explained that the lady's biological mother was the daughter of a shaman from one of the Pandari tribes. The woman inherited the powerful magical power of her mother, who had the gift of predicting the future. The butler explained that Tanju had taken the baby to lift the curse from his grandmother. The sorceress said that if the baby found out about her origin, his son would lose his life. The Duchess turned pale and asked again if everything would be all right with Jonathan. The man said that the witchcraft had already lost its power and that it had been in effect until Scarlet grew up and got married. The butler explained that the inhabitants of Pandaria received their magical power from the red dragons, and that it was quite capable of being compared in power to the emperors. Benjamin said that the gentleman had no choice but to adopt her. The man suggested that Jonathan was also happy about her wedding because that day was the day of liberation from the curse. The girl said that she understood everything, and he could leave. Bowing, the butler quickly walked out the door. Scarlett realized that the chain of logic was closing, and that she was the result of a random connection and a burden that the father had to take on in order to save his son. The girl realized that if she had guessed that she was their adopted daughter, Jonathan could have died. But her father had to raise her despite the fact that she was an unloved and unwanted child. The girl understood why her father had happily gotten rid of her by selling her to Samuel as soon as he had the opportunity. The Duchess realized why her mother had not stopped her husband. Scarlett realized with pain in her heart that she had never been welcome in the Chandler family. Soon Puccini turned to the lady, tearing her out of her thoughts. Smiling, the brown-haired man said that he had something for her. The man handed the Duchess a small painting. The merchant explained that he had once come to Pandaria on business and that he had helped a shaman's daughter. Puccini reported that the woman brought her granddaughter to her biological father and gave him a parting gift. The man explained that she said that one day he would meet a person to whom he would have to give this portrait. Scarlett anxiously asked if he knew where his grandmother was at the moment. The Duchess was amazed that all her relatives lived in Pandaria. Bowing his head, the brown-haired man said that everyone had died long ago, and Scarlett's grandmother had no one except her daughter. The girl held the portrait of her family tightly to her chest. With pain in her heart, the Duchess assumed that her grandmother hated her because the woman's only daughter had died when she gave birth to her. The merchant, looking down, assured her that this was not the case at all, and that her grandmother was a great seer and knew that her daughter was destined to die during childbirth. He said that when this baby was born, she predicted her fate. With a voice trembling with excitement, Scarlett clarified that she said about her path. Shaitan reported that she would rule over the Floria water channel. Drops of cold sweat began to flow from the lady's face, and she clarified what these words meant. The merchant suggested that this was a sign that her business would prosper. The man assured her that her life would be full of joyful events, as such was the prophecy. The scientist suggested that the woman was still praying for her granddaughter's happiness in heaven. A faint smile appeared on the Duchess's face. She realized that her family truly wanted her to be happy and live a decent life. Shaitan asked whether Joshua had refused to take the medication. The butler reported that he had found some herbal remains in the sink and suggested that she had not wanted to drink the decoction because of its bitter taste. The butler asked what the gentleman would do in this situation. The Duke grinned, looked out the window, and said that the blonde had to be punished harshly. Samuel asked the cook to add herbs to the girl's food and assumed that she would not notice. The guy was tired of indulging the whims of his mistress. The brown-haired man wanted to conceive a child with Joshua as soon as possible in order to achieve his goals. Everyone knew that the Florence Canal was built by the goddess of the Red Dragons, who fell in love with the first emperor. It was passed down from generation to generation to the eldest member of the imperial family, who was the heir to the throne. When Princess Amaryllis was born, the previous emperor did not break this tradition, and during the bathing ceremony, he dropped a drop of her blood into the water canal. After Frederick's birth, the emperor decided to make the boy his next heir and took everything from his daughter except the right to own the water supply company, because it was impossible to take it away. Thanks to the Red Dragon's magic, once the owner was determined, nothing could be changed. Otherwise, the Pandarians would have already laid claim to it long ago. The Florence Water Canal was considered a symbol of imperial power. Shaitan wondered what the word dominate meant in this prophecy. The sun's rays flooded the luxurious estate. This day was the festival of the rising sun and also Erica's debut in high society. The sister helped the brunette get out of the small carriage. The little girl's eyes were shining with joy because she realized how important this day was. The debutante asked Scarlett if she should come to the event with the Duke. The girl said that he left earlier than she did because he had urgent business and they couldn't wait for him. The Duchess felt how her husband's attitude changed after the masquerade ball. Scarlett could not believe that he did not even accompany her to the evening. She assumed that the brown-haired man was tired of pretending to be a good husband. The girl encouraged Erica by reminding her that it was her first ball. Scarlett admitted that she went there only to support her younger sister on such an important day. The girls entered the hall which was filled with lively, soft music, and a light aroma of vanilla hung in the air. The aristocrats were spinning in a light dance, and someone was talking to each other. Erica looked around with delight. The brunette greeted Miss Huntington. Scarlett smiled politely when she saw her old acquaintances. The girl asked who was next to the Duchess. The Duchess introduced her little sister. Curtsying, the little one introduced herself as Erica Chandler. The woman smiled and noticed that the Baroness was as charming as Miss Huntington. Green Eyes looked at the girls carefully and noticed that they were not at all similar to each other. The brunette admitted that they had no idea that blood relatives were standing in front of them. The girl asked whether it seemed to others that the girls were not sisters. Erica became angry and asked the aristocrats what they were saying. Our heroine knew that the brunette was always irritated by such remarks. The girl realized that it would be worthwhile to calm her younger sister down. Scarlett could not allow herself to raise her voice at the Baroness at her first ball, because it would be disrespectful. The brunette reported that besides that, relatives could very well differ greatly from each other in appearance. The girl admitted that when she was little, she was also sometimes told that she was not at all like her older brother. The Countess said that she had never had to deal with gossip about betrayal in her family. Scarlett realized that it was her lover's younger sister who stood before her. Winking at her friend, the girl said that they were just joking. The brunette, picking up on this idea, asked not to be angry with them. The aristocrat announced that it was time for them to go and greet the other guests. Amelie was shocked at how tactless they were. The brunette realized that she had behaved no better last time and asked for forgiveness. Bowing, Erica said that they had often heard something like this. The Duchess thanked her lover's younger sister for her help. The Countess reported that sometimes the morals of the capital's aristocrats can be surprising. The brunette said that when she lived in the Kingsley estate with her brother, she had already managed to get out of the habit of it. Scarlett clarified whether she had been to Kingsley. The girl reported that they were uneasy about staying in their home, but that she was received very warmly at the Archduke's estate. Amelie explained that Mr. George valued her brother for his loyal service and took care of her because of it. The Countess assured him that he was a wonderful man. The thought flashed through the Duchess's mind that Amelie was in love with George Kingsley. Sam extended his hand to his wife and invited her to dance. The girl, embarrassed, suggested that she had prevented Scarlett from spending time with her husband. The Duchess said that she had enjoyed the conversation. The girl realized that if they were going to continue pretending to be a loving couple, they would have done so from the very beginning of the ball. She asked the Duke if he had finished his important business. Smiling, the girl told her sister that they would see each other a little later. While Scarlett was spinning in a gentle Merlin, was surrounded by many men. Sam could not take his eyes off the brunette. The guy told his wife that she was not graceful on this beautiful day. The girl realized that the brunette had terrible acting. The girl was sure that he used her to divert George's suspicions from himself. Scarlett could not understand why her husband's attitude towards her in public had changed so much. The Duke let go of his wife and headed towards the beautiful woman, who was surrounded by the attention of other men. The aristocrats discussed the Duke of Huntington coming to the ball with Lady Tanville. The guests assumed that they were having a passionate affair. Scarlett watched carefully where her husband went. The Duke approached the brunette and passionately pressed her to himself. The aristocrats realized that he had invited the brunette to dance, citing the rules of etiquette. They noticed that Sam had immediately run away as soon as he finished dancing with his wife. The girl hoped that they would no longer have to pretend that they loved each other. She could not understand what could have attracted Lady Tanville to someone like her husband. The girl looked at Scarlett with a smirk, saying that she was sure that she had always been on good terms with her husband. The brunette assumed that the Duke had not been able to give up his old habits. The brazen aristocrat assured that the Duchess was not Sam's type. She claimed that such a simpleton had neither the looks nor the rich dowry, and advised Scarlett to return to her barnyard. The Duchess realized that this lady was nothing but trouble. The girl understood that if they raised a fuss about you, it could have a bad effect on Erica's reputation. She decided to pretend she hadn't heard anything. Hot tears appeared on her little sister's face and slowly rolled down her cheeks. Scarlett ordered her to watch her language. The girl explained that other ladies were free to adore her husband and said that there was no need to be angry if he did not choose her. Lady Westminster's expression darkened, and she asked what she had said a moment ago. Scarlett noticed that she had tried to insult her by calling her a country bumpkin. forgetting that she too was of noble birth. The Duchess reported that she was an ordinary fool with a delusion of grandeur, and suggested that this was the result of her upbringing in the capital. The brunette was furious, saying that this was unheard of impudence. The girl ran up to the Duchess and pushed her, causing her to fall to the floor, twisting her leg. Amelia ran up to Miss Huntington and asked if she was okay. The debutante asked the girl what she had allowed herself to do. The princess approached Scarlett and asked what was happening. Lady Westminster shuddered as the princess loomed over her. Louis was worried about his beloved and rushed to her aid. He and his master, the Archduke, simultaneously extended a helping hand to our heroine. There was an awkward pause. The gentleman looked angrily at the knight. The young brunette looked confused. The Archduke looked at the brunette with a look that pierced the boy's heart. Louis's face froze into a grimace. A little nervous about this situation, the Duchess immediately accepted help from George and thanked him for his help. The blonde asked his lover if she was hurt. Getting up from the floor, Scarlett reported that everything was fine. The girl looked at the brunette, expecting that he would, as always, show concern and help her with the wound. The Archduke assumed she had twisted her ankle. Looking away, she assured him it was nothing serious. Smiling, the blonde asked the princess if they would allow the culprit of the incident to escape her deserved punishment. The very nervous culprit said that she could explain everything, and Lady Huntington was the first to start this quarrel. Amaryllis noticed that she had harmed the girl in the imperial palace, and now she was making excuses. The princess assured that the brunette would not get away with it. She said that she had no idea that the Westminster family had raised their daughter so poorly. The girl asked for forgiveness in a trembling voice. The woman ordered the brunette to go home immediately and said that the decision on punishment would be made personally by the emperor himself. Amaryllis sternly informed her that the girl's family would also be held responsible for her behavior. The Archduke offered to take the girl to the living room and examine her ankle. George explained that if she did not take the necessary measures, the situation could worsen. The Duchess realized that if she left with the guy, her husband could get angry like last time. Trying to cheer up his friend, the guy said that Sam left with a brunette and asked her not to worry about it. The guy said that he was so carried away by the woman that he didn't even notice how his wife was pushed. The girl was a little taken aback that the Duke knew about this affair because she was sure that her husband was trying to hide it. Scarlett knew that all this time they were creating the appearance of a happy relationship in order to deceive Archduke Kingsley. She realized that if her husband was caught cheating, she would not have to pretend. The princess turned her attention to the girl and assumed that she was Lady Huntington's sister. Bowing, the brunette assured that the lady had understood everything correctly and claimed that she was very pleased to meet her. The blonde assured that Scarlett was incredibly lucky to have a younger sister. Amaryllis told Milady that she would like to show her wonderful sister the imperial palace. The Duchess suggested that she would do the debutante a great honor. The princess asked Amelia if she would like to join the excursion. Smiling, the girl said that she would go with them with great pleasure. The blonde suggested that his beloved go too, leaning on his shoulder. Having seated Scarlett on the sofa, the blonde dropped to one knee and examined her injured leg. The guy gently took off her shoes so as not to hurt her foot even more. The Duke assured her that the girl would pay for the Duchess's injury. The embarrassed girl said that it was not entirely the brunette's fault. Scarlett explained that while dancing with her husband, she tripped over something and slightly injured her leg. It was because of this that when she was pushed, she was unable to keep her balance and fell. Grinning, George said that he would finish off his rival. Handing over a bundle of pills, the knight said that they were an excellent painkiller and anti-inflammatory for her ladyship. The brunette said that he would try to get everything needed for a cold compress. The Archduke said that he would pour some water so that she could wash down the medicine and asked his beloved to wait a little. The brunette averted his amethyst eyes so that they would not give away his secrets. The Archduke informed Scarlett that in fact he had brought her to this place not only to examine her ankle. Having handed her a glass of cold water, the blonde said that he needed to discuss something with her alone. The girl asked what the reason for this urgent conversation was. George first asked his lover to take some medicine and promised to explain everything soon. A bad feeling raged in the Duchess's soul. Scarlett was afraid that he had noticed that there was something between her and Louis. Pulling herself together, she asked him what he wanted to talk about. Before the serious conversation began, the guy kissed the Duchess passionately. She pushed him away slightly and asked if this was what he wanted to talk about. The guy remembered that he wanted to ask the girls to give Joshua a drug that caused infertility. George hesitated a little and said that he had a lot to tell, but when he looked at her face, everything else immediately disappeared from his mind. The blonde suggested continuing the conversation after they had fully enjoyed each other. Scarlett could hardly wait for the night to return. As if reading her thoughts, the guy said that she didn't have to worry about Lewis, that he was a smart enough knight. George said that he was used to observing the gentleman's personal life behind closed doors. Gently touching the girl's chin, the Archduke informed her that if they were busy, the knight should wait patiently. Pushing him away, the Duchess asked if he was going to make the man who wanted to help treat her wounds wait outside the door. A little taken aback, the blonde asked if her ankle hurt. Scarlett explained that the medication had eased the pain, but that did not mean the injury was completely gone. George asked his beloved to forgive him for his rudeness. The blonde put his hand on his forehead, reproaching himself for behaving selfishly again. The girl asked him not to keep her waiting and to tell her what he wanted to talk about. Embarrassed, George said he would like to return to their conversation at the masquerade ball. The Archduke recalled that the girl had insisted that she did not want Sam's mistress to become pregnant. The guy asked if the Duchess was sure of her decision. After an affirmative answer, the blonde said that he had something that could help with this. The guy took a small bottle out of his jacket pocket. He explained that there was a contraceptive there and asked whether his beloved could have given it to Joshua. The Duchess recalled that he himself emphasized that the pregnancy of his mistress would help her divorce her husband. George admitted that he had actually thought so before. The guy said that the Duke would not let her go so easily, and that if the blonde gave birth to his child, he would want to pass it off as his rightful heir. The blonde said that Sam would need her for that. The Archduke assumed that he would force the girl to raise someone else's child. Our heroine realized that this could indeed happen. George asked whether the Duchess should be on the safe side, saying that there was nothing wrong with taking care of her own safety. Scarlett explained that she didn't want such a fate for the blonde, but she didn't know if she would want to help her. The guy was a little taken aback and asked if she was talking about Samuel's mistress. The Duchess was sure that it would be a great joy for the blonde to give birth to his child. She knew that if she advised Joshua to drink this medicine, she would not agree. George asked if Sam's mistress knew that he had an affair with Marilyn. Scarlett realized that she could not have known about this because she had been sitting in confinement for days without being able to leave her room. The guy grinned and suggested telling the blonde about it. A little taken aback, the Duchess asked if he wanted her to tell him that the brown-haired man was courting a woman. The Archduke was sure that if Joshua found out about this, he would not want to have a child from this scoundrel. The Duchess was worried that the girl would have a stroke from such news. Scarlett promised to talk to the blonde. George told the girl that he wanted to say something else, but he would answer when she kissed him. The girl was amazed by the blonde's persistence and reached for his lips. A persistent knock on the door prevented the couple from kissing. The blonde asked where his vaunted seductiveness had gone. A little upset, the blonde said that the knight could have entered the room. The brunette was holding a lot of bandages, a basin of ice, and crutches in his hands. Lewis reported that he had brought the necessary materials for bandaging and support so that the lady would not put any weight on her leg. The Archduke assured her that this would help improve her condition and ordered the boy to examine Lady Huntington's ankle once more. The knight, kneeling, began the procedure. Scarlett asked what the blonde wanted to show her. George took a small envelope from his pocket and handed it to her. The girl realized that it was the contract for opening a gondola business that they had recently drawn up. Scarlett asked if there had been any problems. The blonde pointed to the right line and said that he had made some corrections to it. The Duchess asked him again if he had increased the amount of investment. The guy noted that he had also changed the percentage of income received. She realized that most of the net profits would go to her. Scarlett asked if that was too generous for a business partner. The blonde said that he wanted this project to help her become financially independent as soon as possible, and said that he did not take it on for the money. He hoped that the girl would see the purity of his intentions in this. The Duchess realized that the knight's words were the pure truth, and George used her to achieve his goals. The girl realized that this was a rather dangerous business, and it was not worth getting involved in. She asked the guy if he had forgotten that she could not be bought. The Archduke said that Scarlett had misunderstood him. The guy explained that he wanted her to feel more confident. He was confident that this business would help her accumulate a good financial cushion to quickly get back on her feet after her divorce from Samuel. The Archduke informed her that she would soon be able to fly free and find herself in his arms, separated from her nasty husband. The guy told her that she would be able to spend more time with him. The girl realized that the Archduke was trying to seduce her with sweet words. Our heroine couldn't understand where the craftsman who tried to win her favor with cheap trinkets had gone. Scarlett tried to understand at what point the blonde began to value her much more. The Duchess was eager to know what was so valuable about her that she herself did not even suspect. The girl assumed that it had something to do with her origins. She realized that the Archduke could not have known about it. George said that if she was satisfied with these conditions, she could put her seal on the document. The aristocrat said that she had left her at home. The blonde insisted that he could not let her go until the contract was approved. Louis's face changed. After all, the knight guessed where this was going. It looked like his beloved might be in danger, or she might be forced into action.